You can tell it's real because it looks so fake.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Look Into It. Tonight, NFL fucking legend Aaron Rodgers joins us. Aaron, what's up?
Hey man, thanks so much for having me on, man. This is a long
God.
time in the making.
God damn, man. I don't even know where to start, man. Your football career is just, it's one of those like, man, you just went under the radar. You were totally overlooked. No colleges wanted you. You were a high school. How tall of a quarterback were you in high school?
Well, there's a lot of misinformation around that.
'Cause someone said 5'7". I'm like, you don't look 5'7".
No, if I was 5'7", I would understand not getting recruited. But I was a late bloomer, but I kind of grew every single year. I was like 5'6" as a freshman, 5'9" as a sophomore, like 6.5 as a. Hey, there we go. There's some video now. I love this. This is awesome right here. There's me right there.
That's you at 16?
That's me. No, that's after the round.
I'm kidding.
That's
I'm
a good
kidding.
splice in there.
Yeah, 'cause
there we go. Now we got the no. And then by the time I was a senior, I was like 6'2".
Oh shit. Okay.
195. But this is a different era. You know, there wasn't camps to go to. There wasn't a lot of exposure. We didn't know. We signed up for some like scouting service that I updated. Oh, there's a great clip right there. Me throwing an interception. Yeah, thanks for splicing that one in.
Thank you, Hib. Thank you.
I don't think he scores. That's good though.
Hey,
But
so-
no, I went to a couple camps and did pretty well, but nothing ever came from it. So, but there were some decent schools in the area. I thought might recruit me. UC Davis, who was a good Division II school, was down the road. They didn't recruit me. I was getting heavily, I'd say that very loosely, heavily recruited by some Division III schools. But I grew up watching Keith Jackson and Dan Fouts on Saturdays, and I dreamt about playing on TV. I wanted to play in the Pac-12 or Pac-10 back then, but it was the best thing to happen to me. I think this my career, the way it played out, was great because along the way there was a lot of good ego deaths, and just like a great plant medicine ceremony, those are great ways to kind of reset your life when you start believing your own shit a little bit too much and you kind of get knocked down to size. That's when the character kind of kicks in dealing with adversity. So,
But being 6'2", that's not like a negative as a quarterback. 6'2" is like, that's pretty good. Like 5'11", 6 foot even, that's like that. You better you better run fast or something. You better be an amazing scrambler with a cannon if you're 5'11". But 6'2" ain't that bad. I mean,
yeah, it's a different era though, Eddie. Like now height doesn't matter as much because you're seeing so many guys who are in that, the shorter guys, the Kyler Murrays of the NFL. Bryce Young just got drafted first overall, and he's, 5'9", 5'10".
What?
Back then, it was the age of the, the prototypical pocket passer, the Peyton Mannings, the Tom Brady's, where they wanted the Ben Roethlisberger's, they wanted the 6'4", 6'5", 6'6" guy pocket passer. I was kind of the new age, the beginning of kind of I would say that very loosely because I grew up watching Steve Young, and Steve was kind of, Randall Cunningham, Fran Tarkenton to Randall Cunningham to Steve Young, the evolution of the scrambling quarterback. And then to me, where I kind of added not just the running, but the throwing on the run and the pass first guy outside the pocket. Now you're saying that's what everybody wants. They don't care how tall the guy is. There's actually, you think about it, look around the league, and you're a fan, how many true prototypical pocket passers are there left in the league? Not many.
Joe Flacco.
Everybody.
He's the only one.
Yeah, Flacco, and he had a great year last year. I love seeing the older guys do well, but there's less and less of those guys who were kind of
6'5".
statues. Yeah,
Yes.
there's statues. You got to be able to run around, move around. Look at both the guys in the Super Bowl. Pat obviously been doing it for a long time, making plays outside the pocket, extended plays. Brock Purdy made a lot of plays this year outside the pocket, so that's what they're looking for. They're not looking for the big guys. But when I was coming out, it was like you're under 6'4". Well, we'll get back to you.
Yeah, that's crazy. And fuck, like no D1 colleges wanted you, and you thought about quitting.
No
football.
D2, yeah, no D2 wanted
No
me either.
D2. That's crazy. Yeah. That's so.
My
crazy.
options were like some small schools actually around here where I live in Southern California, Division III schools. Walk on at Oregon. I'd gotten into Oregon because they had a good law program, so I was thinking about maybe going into that. or play junior college. There were two good options that were close by. One was a national powerhouse, and the other was a place where the former quarterback at my high school went and had some success. So made the right decision.
Man, when I played, I'm Mexican, and I didn't realize Mexicans don't play NFL.
There's a few.
There's a few.
We got a great one on our team, Elijah Vera Tucker.
Anthony Munoz, I think he was a lineman
legend
for the Bengals. I think he's one. And then I think a quarterback for the Jets, Alex Sanchez or something like that. He was half Mexican.
Mark Sanchez,
yeah.
Yep.
But generally, for the most part, 99.99999% of Mexicans don't have a shot in the NFL. But when you play Pee Wee football or Junior All-American football, that's what I played. At 9, everybody's the same height at 9. So I played tackle football at 9. I was playing defensive end and middle linebacker. It gets you delusional. You think you're gonna make it in the pros. I'm 5'9", and I'm slow as shit. When we'd play tag with girls would always catch me. I could never outrun the girls, and I could never catch them. Dude, I'm slow, but I have good fucking moves, dog. I could fake your ass out. We play football in the neighborhood with all the Mexicans against other Mexicans. I was great. I would catch it, fake your ass out, but I could never outrun anybody. So if I faked you out, just track me down. And anytime I was running in the open, I was just waiting for someone just to drag me fucking down and pull me down. But I thought I was so delusional that I thought I was going to play football, that when the USFL first came out, people would, I'm like 11 now. And they go, "What, are you going to play a USFL or NFL?" And I said, "Whoever pays me more, man. I'm going where the money's at." I was so confident. And then I get into sixth grade. Now in fifth grade, you play tackle, helmets, shoulder pads, and then sixth grade, junior high. Now it's flag football for sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, and then the pads don't come back until ninth grade. So sixth grade, I got cut immediately. I ran like a 6'5" 40, and I was in Vans, dude. I had Vans, the old school blue Vans. Yes. I thought I was gonna make it. I was so sure I was gonna make it. I'll just show up in Vans, and they cut me right there. As soon as I was done, you go, get the fuck out.
Why are they cutting people in sixth grade? That's kind of fucked up.
Yeah. They cut you in junior high. Seventh grade again.
That couldn't fly anymore. That couldn't fly these days. Man,
they cut me right away.
Trophy days, that couldn't fly.
They don't cut people in high school. Once I hit ninth grade, they don't cut people. But in sixth grade, got cut immediately. Then I transferred myself to a school across town where, I was getting bullied a lot in sixth grade. That's a long story. So I transferred myself to a white school and way on the other side of town. And none of my neighborhood friends, none of them knew anything about that school. I just needed to get out of our neighborhood school because they wanted to kill me. Because I was Mexican and I didn't claim a gang. You had to claim a gang, whether you were in the gang or not. You had to claim the gang at school. You don't have to fight or anything, but they need you like the Army Reserve. You know what I mean? You have to claim. And I wouldn't. I was like, fuck that shit. And I transferred myself to another school, tried out for that team. Got cut immediately again. And I told everybody, I was so embarrassed that I told all my friends in my neighborhood, I go, that I made the team, but I didn't want to get too crazy. I said, yes, I made the team, backup quarterback. I told them I was backup quarterback. I wasn't good enough to be starter, but then they kicked me off the team because I got in a fight. That's what I told them. That was like the skeleton in my closet in my neighborhood, for years, dude. I never made the team. And then eighth grade again, boom, they cut me. And I was always thinking, wait till we get to ninth grade. Wait till we get to ninth grade when the pads come back on. That's what I play. I play tackle football. I don't play this pussy ass shit, flag fucking football. Fuck that pussy shit. I was all delusional. And then in ninth grade, they didn't cut me. They don't cut you. I made the fucking team. They didn't know what to do with me. I was slow as shit. I had good hands though. I could catch, but I was slow, dude. I was so slow. And our starting wide receiver on our freshman team, his name is Royal Wilbon. That guy could have played the pros right there and then. Royal Wilbon is a giant black guy who ran like a fucking 4.40 already in ninth grade. This guy, once he touched the ball, that season we had the greatest freshman high school football team of all time. Every game 55-0, 45-0, 65-0. And we just nobody had a shot. And I backed up Royal Wilbon. So they never let me play, man. This guy was
even when you're ahead by 50 points, they wouldn't put you in?
I played 2 plays. That's it. And then at the end, the final game of the season, we were up 45-0 at halftime. So at halftime, the coach said, you know, it's the last game. We're going to let all the scrubs start offense and defense. I was going to start wide receiver and cornerback. Second half, I'm like, I finally get my shot. Opening kickoff in second half. Opening kickoff. We're running to tackle the guy. We're running. And I get there last because I'm so slow. And the guy who caught the ball got wrapped up by his legs. He was still standing. And then another guy speared him. And then he braced with his arm and broke his arm in half. So he's laying there on the field with a broken arm, and they called an ambulance. And by the time they pulled him off the field, the other team just forfeited because they were getting killed anyways, and the sun was going down. And that was it. That was the end of my football career. That's it.
What a great story.
That was it, dude.
I love it.
Then I started wrestling.
Smart.
And then that's where the grappling started.
Yeah.
You know, that was the grappling seed started coming.
And then you got into jiu-jitsu when?
Yeah, then jiu-jitsu came later, you know, and but fuck, man. So like you and like Brock Purdy, he didn't even get drafted. He's at like
No, he was the last pick.
Oh, he was the last pick.
He was Mr. Irrelevant. Yeah.
How does that happen? How do they miss that? How do they miss it?
Well, I'd say the same thing that I'd said when I was picked is that there's a lot of things you can't measure. You know, you can't measure mental toughness, physical toughness, ability to deal with adversity, character, leadership, a lot of things. And I think a lot of these kids who are picked at the top have always been the best, you know, always been the best player in junior high, always been best player in high school, best player in college.
Yeah.
And they've never faced the kind of adversity that growing up, you know, in a lower middle class environment and not having, you know, not going to D1 or not being heavily recruited. And you deal with like I said, the ego deaths and the you know, the digging deep and dealing with adversity and all the different things that I think helps you when you get into the league. I mean, look at what happened to Trevor Lawrence. I don't think he lost like one game, you know, his entire high school and college career till he got to Jacksonville, and then, you know, Urban Meyer's his coach, and they're really bad, and they get fired, and you know, how's a guy like that going to respond? You don't know. You don't know how he's going to respond until you see that. So that's why I always felt like I had an advantage over some of these kids who are heavily recruited because they'd never kind of dealt with looking up a list online and not ever seeing your name, never getting recruited, no one knowing who you are, playing junior college the way I did. So I'm thankful for the path I went because I learned a lot of life lessons along the way that kind of set me up to go through the adversity and be able to come out the other side. And maybe not some of the adversity I faced the last couple of years, but definitely some of the adversity on the field.
When you're talking about adversity, you're talking about your team's getting fucking rocked. You just threw 2 interceptions. Shit, because momentum in football is fucking huge.
Yeah.
All you need is one thing just to turn. Momentum is emotion. And a lot of the emotion comes from the 70,000 screaming fans. And if you could use that to your advantage. Now, it's like what you're talking about is like people that can perform under pressure, right? I mean, some people buckle under the pressure, and when there's no pressure, they look like a god. But as soon as they have adversity and pressure, they fold, right? It just seems like
that's that. It's also the off the field stuff because it's a full-time job. So Monday through Saturday, you're dealing with a lot of other things. You're dealing with media stories that are out there about you. You're dealing with strife in the locker room. Maybe you're dealing with you know, a lot of different egos and personalities you got to balance and be kind of a you know, a centering you know, a kind of a magnetic force for them to stay focused and to stay confident. Confidence is the biggest thing I think for any player, but especially for quarterbacks, because if you look at a lot of these quarterbacks get picked very high in the draft, there's a reason those teams are drafting high for the most part, because they're bad teams. And they're usually not just a quarterback away. I mean, there's very few Ben Roethlisbergers who kind of have success in their first year playing. C.J. Stroud did as well. You know, I think he deserves a lot of credit for that. But it's because most of these teams, especially at the top of the draft, are bad football teams. They're not just a quarterback away. So how are you going to deal with the fact that you go from being a stud in college to you got not a great team around you, and now they're saying, hey, kid, go win us some games. And it's like, well, we need, you know, some other players. It's not a one-man sport. You know, it's not like basketball or baseball where a dominant pitcher or hitter can change the entire game or series, or a dominant, you know, LeBron James, Steph Curry, back to, you know, my growing up, and Michael Jordan, you know, even though he had some great teammates, where one player can take over the game. It takes 11 on offense, 11 on defense, 3 specialists, special teamers. So you're not going to win it all by yourself. So some of these kids go to these bad situations team-wise. how do they deal with the adversity of like, we're not winning? Do their confidence get shattered? Are they able to stay kind of in the moment and handle the Monday through Saturday grind and deal with the media that might be tough, like in, a New York market or a big market, and kind of come out the other side and still have the respect to your teammates and keep confidence in yourself? And those are things you just can't measure when you go to the combine here, like these kids are going to go to in a couple of weeks, and they measure their height and their weight and they get the 40 time and they do some sort of aptitude test and you meet with all the teams and you're getting everything sized up and 32 team doctors pulling on every part of your body and walking around like a meat market with just in your skivvies as they weigh you and look at every inch of your body. And it's like, are you going to be able to deal with the scrutiny when things aren't going great? You don't know until they're in the moment. And that's why I always felt like my journey set me up to maybe deal with that a little bit better.
If you were a scout and your job was to find quarterbacks that are like you, that went under the radar, that have a potential for greatness, what would you like? How do you look for the adversity? You would have to look. You can't look at the stats or anything. You'd have to look at like how they were brought up, their life, right, and how they you'd have to really look at what the high school teams were about, right? I
think so. I mean, that's what a lot of recruiters do when you're going to college. They look in your background and what was your, teenage years like, but what about your preteen years and how many sports did you play? I think that's another thing that really our society is hurting some of these athletes is they're forcing kids at a young age to specialize in one sport. I grew up, I don't know you did, but I played basketball, baseball, football, soccer, street hockey, wiffle ball. We were always playing sports. We were always outside. And each of these different games teaches you a different type of, team, lesson, how to deal with, when you're playing baseball, it's different than playing basketball, different than playing football, different than playing soccer. Everybody has different roles. And I think that's an important thing. I want my left tackles to have played basketball because I want them to have good feet. Show me a left tackle who, scored 15 points a game in high school at 20 points a game and can dunk and can move his feet. That's what I want. I want a guy who specialized since he was 10 years old because he was the biggest guy of his friend group and just played football. You're missing out on other opportunities to learn competition in different sports. I think that's one thing to look at. Second, obviously look at the background. What was their life like? Like, how did they deal with the adversity of growing up? Was it single parent home, 2-parent home? Was there, religion involved? What type of school did they go to? Did they ride the bus when they were going to,
I wonder if they took all the greatest quarterbacks, right? Even the modern one, like Mahomes, Brady, all the great quarterbacks, like the Super Bowl quarterbacks, the elite, the legends, the Hall of Famers, and you go through their life and how many had broken homes and how many, grew up poor or how many grew up rich and had, their parents stay together. How many had a lot of siblings as opposed to they were the only child. It would be interesting to find out like all that data and just draft a quarterback based on how he grew up.
Yeah, I think it'd be fascinating.
And just go for it. You know what? This guy was broke as fuck. He was hustling, selling shit on the streets. And then, you know what I mean? He knows.
Yeah, homeless. I played with a guy who was a great player in Green Bay named James Jones. He grew up homeless, and then he, got to high school, eventually got a scholarship to San Jose State, which is not a powerhouse football school, but you knew this guy when shit hit the fan, like he was going to be standing in the fire and guy you could really count on. And he had a fantastic career for us and was just a, absolute warrior and incredible self-confidence and mental toughness, physical toughness. So you kind of like that guy, like, okay, this guy's been through some shit, like he can deal with it, but you never know. You never know, because the other thing that comes in, Eddie, is the money is so crazy. It's so crazy. And what happens when, maybe a kid who's had nothing growing up gets paid $50 million in a year? Like, how are they going to deal with that?
Sam Tripoli and I are coming to your town. Catch us on the road doing Tinfoil Hat Comedy. Follow me on Instagram at Tinfoil Hat Comedy Night. Go to samtripoli.com for more information and to buy your tickets. See you on the road.
Come join us for the premiere event, Hook Thieves Live at the End in Torrance, California. Free show is Sunday, March 17th, St. Patty's Day. 5.
Right. But like, it was a lot for him. He won the Heisman when he was a freshman. And the amount of attention and scrutiny and fame that he got, like, it's tough on anybody, even if you grew up kind of around that. And so there's a lot of different factors that can change a person's career for sure.
Man, it's during the Johnny Manziel era, I kind of checked out on the Browns for a little bit. I was every weekend, like since I've been a Browns fan since I was 10. And Brian Sipe, Dave Logan, the Cardiac Kids, and then it transitioned into the Bernie Kosar era. I never missed a fucking game. Never missed a game. I never missed a game once the Bernie Kosar era started, because before that there wasn't satellites. Once they had satellites at bars where you could watch any game, I got a fake ID. I got my brother's birth certificate, went to the DMV back before they did any check. You just show up with a birth certificate and go, I'm 21, and I'm 17 years old.
Yeah.
I had a fake ID, which was a real ID with my brother's name on it. And I got it just so I could get into bars to watch Browns games. But it turns out you didn't need an ID because they would, during Sundays, they just let anybody in. It didn't matter. So, but once, and then, when the Browns went to Baltimore in 96, I was such a fucking hardcore Browns fan that in the beginning, like most, I was like, fuck the Baltimore Ravens. Fuck them. Fucking Art Modell taking the Cleveland Browns away from us. Fucking, like, dude, I was so pissed that my Sundays were ruined now. Because they said, oh, we'll bring back a Browns team in 3 years or so. I'm like, fuck, 3 years of no football? I was so pissed off, like, fuck the Ravens. And then the first preseason game of the next year, it was, I'll never forget this, Ravens versus the Giants. First preseason game of the next year. I went to Santa Monica, 3rd Street Promenade. I don't know if it's still there, but Yankee Doodles was like the biggest sports bar ever. It was like 2 stories of TVs fucking ever. They had like 100 TVs. And I went down there and I said, hey, can you put on the Ravens Giants game, I'm like, and I was like, fuck the Ravens, but I'll check them out. Fuck them, but I'll check them out. And that was Ray Lewis's rookie year. It was their first year. And I looked at him, and it was the purple Browns. It was Vinny Testaverde. He had just been on the Browns the year before. Now he's wearing a purple uniform, Leroy Horde, and I'm like, and then I fucking just said, fuck that. I'm not going to let Art Modell take football away from me. Fuck that. I'm a Ravens fan. So I became a huge Ravens fan. And then when the Browns came back, I liked them both.
Oh, okay.
And when they played each other, I would root for whoever had the ball.
Yeah.
And if the game was late in the season, I would root extra for whoever had a better playoff chance. That was, and then little by little, then I was totally into Flacco. Love Joe Flacco. And then little by little, then Johnny Manziel, like it became really hard to watch Browns games. I started teaching jiu-jitsu seminars all over the world and I kept missing games. Now I was missing games. But when you miss a game and the Browns lost 30-3, you're happy you missed it. You're like, thank God I didn't waste my fucking day watching this shit. 30-3, 25-6. Fuck, dude. I was like, so then I slowly just stopped paying attention to the Browns, like the Johnny Manziel era. It was just too, I was just too busy to spend my Sundays watching. Nothing hurts more than watching an opposing team just get first down after first down after first down after first. 3rd and 12 is supposed to be no first down. You're not supposed to make. They just fucking it hurts so much to watch teams just march down the field. Oh my God, it's painful. So I didn't pay attention for a while. But then when they drafted Baker, I came back full force. I'm like, okay, here's our shot. I was all in with Baker, back in, and then that didn't work out. I thought they gave up on Baker a little too soon. I would have given him one more year, but I think Deshaun Watson, in 2019, 2020, he was up there with the elite. He went to the Pro Bowl, so I still have hope. And then when Joe Flacco came back, everybody in Cleveland hated Joe Flacco because he would just destroy the Browns for so many years. But I liked it. I'm like, I like him though, because I used to like the Ravens.
both-
You know what I mean? So I was happy about it. But nobody, all the podcasts, the Browns podcast, everybody's like, I don't know why we brought this motherfucker in. If he plays, it's over. Like, just make sure he doesn't play. Keep him on the practice squad. Everybody said that. Nobody wanted anything to do with Flacco in the Browns podcast world. And as soon as he started playing well, everybody fell in love with him.
Dan here said that he is going to be a man. Dan, how long have you been a Browns fan?
My entire life, 1988.
Did you like Joe Flacco when he was on the Baltimore Ravens?
I hated him.
Okay, and were you mean to him?
Very.
And do you like Joe Flacco now?
I love him.
Would you like to say I'm sorry to Joe Flacco for anything you said that was mean?
I'm sorry for wishing your arm fell off every time you threw a football.
Thank you, Dan. Did that feel good?
It felt very good. Thanks,
Go Browns.
Mike.
Go Browns, Dan. All right, let's see some other people. Hi, guys. Do you want to apologize to Joe Flacco for being mean to him?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Joe, we're very sorry for what we said when you were playing for the Ravens. We love you.
All right.
Sorry.
And tell him you love him now.
We love you, Joe Flacco.
Joe! Wow. Did you ever think you would hear a bunch of Clevelanders on West 6th Street cheering for Joe Flacco?
Everybody switched. The whole city fell in love with him. They hated him, and then they loved him. It was fucking crazy, man.
That's the best thing about the football fans. I mean, they are just diehard about their team ultimately
Every
when
week,
it comes down to it.
Yeah, if the team loses that whole week on the podcast, they just crush the team. They crush the team. And then they win. Oh, my God, we have a chance to win the Super Bowl. And then they lose. Oh, my God, we got to fire the coach. Who's the problem?
GM,
You know what I mean?
coach, owner
Every
needs to
week.
sell the team.
Every week, if you
quarterbacks the
lose.
shits.
When you would lose, would you avoid like the internet?
No, I think you got to embrace it. I think I was, and I think it's an interesting dilemma for a lot of guys. I think you either got to be all in on it or all out on it. You can't, if you just read the good shit, God, you're setting yourself up for an absolute roller coaster of emotions.
Wow.
I think you got to just
like that.
look at both of it or look at none of it. And for the most part, I'd look at none of it. Like I'm aware based on, usually our PR guy will let me know if there's a big story out there I need to know about before a press conference, but I'm not, there's a saying about, I wouldn't, if I'm not asking you for advice, then I don't care about your criticism, like I'm not, in the business of worrying about what some of these guys say about me. And I care about what my teammates think about me, about what the coaching staff and being the same guy every day. But I can't ride the wave of like, they love me one week and they fucking hate me the next week. We're going to win the Super Bowl. Like you said, we're going to win the Super Bowl where the shits get rid of everybody. Like that's a tough roller coaster. And I think a lot of guys actually ride it. And I don't know how they do it because it is just, it's the highs are high and the lows are fucking low. And you can't just isolate yourself from any type of negative criticism. I think it's almost better to look at some of the good stuff when it goes good and look at the bad stuff.
Yeah.
But you can't have it both ways. And so for me, it's just like, I don't really care. I mean, they're going to say what they're going to say. Like if it's great, I don't need the like extra, endorphins about like, oh man, they're talking about me good. It's like, yeah, if I fucking play good, like I know there's going to be good things out there. If I don't, I know there's going to be shitty things out there. Whatever. I don't care. It doesn't change the way I play or, doesn't make my life better or worse.
So when you didn't get any D1 colleges coming after you, you ended up going to a junior college, Butte, correct?
Yes.
And where was that? That was in Chico?
It's out just outside Oroville. It's in Chico, yeah, and Oroville as well. It's between Chico and Oroville in Northern California. It's been a powerhouse for a long, long time. Even before I went there, they were always, one of the best teams in Northern California. Is basically San Francisco City College and Butte for decades were kind of the top two, and then Fresno City was good, and Reed Lee was good, and a couple years, there's some other teams that were good, but
they would produce NFL stars.
Not a ton. Like Larry Allen went to Butte, legendary offensive lineman, played most of his career in Dallas and San Francisco, but I played with a couple guys who made it to the NFL, which is pretty cool. And I think since then we've had a few guys who've played, a decent amount of time in the league, but we always had guys transfer to do better. It doesn't have to be uniform. I think to try and change a guy's complete swing or throwing style is difficult for most people to do. And I was thankful that I was able to figure it out, but it was definitely not the easiest thing to do. But I love Coach Tedford. He's an amazing coach, and I have been fortunate enough to have some pretty amazing people I got to play with over the years, play for. and with. But Jeff really challenged me because he was a perfectionist, and the way that he prepared and was I took a lot away from those 2 years with him. I'm thankful for him. Still good friends with Jeff.
Now you're in Butte, you're junior college, and then someone from Cal shows up to practice to take a look at like a tight end or a wide receiver. And
it was Coach Tedford. Yeah, Coach Tedford came to our practice one day. They were looking at our tight end, Garrett Cross. Garrett and I had played against each other in high school, and then they were recruiting him. And we used to have this horrible Monday routine because we played on Saturdays. Monday was like this run day. We just run for 45 minutes around the field, and it was awful because you had to keep up with your group, and certain people like running faster than other people. And luckily this day, Coach Rigsby's like, why don't you guys just go over the side and throw a little bit, and you can take a couple receivers and tight end. And so I had like a legendary throwing session. Like I didn't miss a pass. I was just on point. and he offered me a scholarship, and that was a cool moment because that's what I always dreamed about. And after I committed, Washington offered me, and then Minnesota supposedly threw out an offer to me, but that was way too far away. I don't think pick Minnesota out on a map at that point. So Cal offered me a chance to play in the first year. Washington, I was going to have to be a backup for a year, so it made sense to go to Cal. And that's
you lit it up at Cal, right?
Yeah, I didn't. I was backup the first 4 games, and I started 10 my sophomore year, and started all 12 my junior year. Yeah, I mean, I played good. We had a good squad. We kind of changed the way that football is viewed at the school. I mean, Cal has long been known as an academic institution and an institution that, used to promote a lot of free speech. I think we know how college campuses are these days, but a lot of great protests over the years and sit-ins and different things have happened there. And it was crazy when I was there. I mean, it was coming from a small town and going to Berkeley was really cool for me just to grow up and to be around different people who had different opinions and learn and get my own ideologies tested by some fascinating, super intelligent individuals. And so I'm really thankful for those 2 years because I grew up kind of, just in a nice kind of, suburban, although we were kind of lower middle class, like just kind of like my high school was super white, we had a lot of Mexicans and just a couple, black people, but to be able to go to Cal where it's just a melting pot and there's fascinating people from all over the world with great, interesting ideas, and being around sports, you never saw color. It was just like teammates and opponents, and there's just a respect level for like anybody that could play, whatever sport it was. But just like being around people who didn't think and act and talk like the way that I did or was growing up, how I grew up was really, really impactful for me because I got to kind of test all the things that I thought I believed in, and whether it was religion or just the idealistic nature, I think, of growing up in kind of that environment was really, really important for me.
So Butte, your freshman year, and then your sophomore.
For 2 years, yeah.
And then, so you
I left early.
Oh, yeah. You left early. You got drafted. You didn't do your senior year. Okay. I'm Eddie Bravo, founder of 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu with over 150 schools and over 30,000 soldiers worldwide. Music has always been my deepest passion. Without that musical journey that I took, I probably wouldn't be here right now. I can't tell my music story without having my musical partner my whole life and best friend, Mr. James Watson.
I said, I want to be in a band no matter what. Oh, well, there it is. I got to move to Los Angeles. I said, I got to go to that place. If this California is supporting metal.
Me and James just started making music. Mastering the Metal, the story of James Watson and Eddie Bravo. Print and audiobook available now.
No, I only went to 5 semesters of college. And so my college cost me, besides the books at Butte, $11 a unit was my junior college price. I took 33 units at Butte, so that was $363, and then Cal was a scholarship. So thankfully, I gave my folks a little a little break with that. But yeah, 2 fun years at Cal, made a lot of good friends. And then, I was coming off a good season. We were 10-1 and had a great squad. And I sat down with Coach Tedford and said, "What do you think? You think I should come back for a year or go to the NFL?" I said, "I think you should go. I mean, everything's lining up perfect for you. San Fran's gonna have a #1 pick. You're the best quarterback in the draft. It's kind of in the stars right now." So decided to go. Because of that, I missed out on playing with Deshaun Jackson and Marshawn Lynch. I got 1 year with Marshawn Lynch, but he was the backup that year. The next year would have been Marshawn was our starting running back, and Deshaun Jackson, who just retired, I think this last year, would have been the starting receiver. So, but I'm thankful for the way it went down. But that would have been an interesting year with those two guys because they're incredible players.
So your junior year at Cal was so incredible that not only did you enter the draft early, but everybody was expecting you yourself to be the #1 pick. That's incredible.
Yeah, I thought that was going to happen. I mean, a little different environment. I think over the years, there's been more of an impetus to take quarterbacks, just take quarterbacks if you have a top 10 pick. And I think there was more of an idea back then that you don't have to play a guy right away. Now, the previous year before me, there were 3 potential future Hall of Famers all picked in the first round. It was a draft of Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, and Ben Roethlisberger, all who end up having long careers. And the majority of them who played in their first season. And then my year, the first round was Alex Smith, myself, and Jason Campbell. Alex ended up playing a decent amount his first year. Jason didn't play, I don't think, a whole lot his first year, but there was more guys like myself who could wait for a few years and didn't have to be thrust into a starting role. And there wasn't like a strong desire, I think, to make sure you get all the quarterbacks you want off the board in the first 10 picks. So I fell from what I thought was going to be the first pick to pass #5, which was John Gruden was the head coach in Tampa. And once I got past 8, I knew it was going to be a long day in the green room.
And you got drafted 24th.
24th, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw clips of that where you were like, you said you were like, it was embarrassing because, teams just kept, everyone thought you were going #1. Everyone thought you were going to San Francisco. That's your favorite team. Is San Francisco still your favorite team? Or did you say fuck them after that?
Well, I mean, once you play in the NFL, you don't have favorite teams anymore except the team you're playing on. So, yeah. I mean, I played 18 years in Green Bay and I still have a lot of great friends there. Both players and the sports staff and coaches. So I definitely keep tabs on them. But you lose kind of that fandom, I think, once you have been around the league for a while. When I'm done playing, I won't be a Niner fan. I mean, that's kind of long gone. I'll definitely keep tabs on Green Bay and probably the Jets as well.
Yeah, man. It's I'll be honest with you. I mean, when I'm a diehard football fan, and when you're a diehard football fan, you only like your team. Like I only like the Browns. I don't even like the Ravens no more. I'm just Browns now, and I never even play fantasy football because I can't find myself rooting for someone other than the Browns. But my son's baseball team, all the dads got together one year and said, let's all play fantasy football together. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. So I just picked all the Browns, dude. My backup quarterback was the Cleveland backup quarterback. It was Case Keenum. You know what I mean?
I love it. That's amazing.
It was hard. I didn't give a shit.
I'm sure there's a lot of people that do that just like only pick their people, but you're going to miss out, right? Because there's a bye week and stuff like that.
Oh, totally.
And if there's not ridiculous. A great game, there's no chance you're going to win.
I didn't have anybody else but Browns.
Fantasy football, though, has done a lot for our sport, though, I think. I think it's brought more people watching, more people excited about more name recognition and player recognition. So it's been great because you have so many diehards like yourself or me growing up of the Niners. Now you have so many people who I have my team, I have my fantasy team. And then the whole sports betting has totally changed the landscape.
Oh, shit. The sports, like FanDuel and DraftKings.
Oh, there's live game betting now. Like at the Super Bowl, there's bets on if it's going to be heads or tails. There's bets on the over/under on the time for the national anthem. I mean, it's just it's crazy. But the NFL's embracing it because there's a lot of money in it. A lot of money.
And that's the NFL embracing it. That's key. The NFL embrace and like kind of somehow.
But there's some owners who are invested in DraftKings and FanDuel. So have you realized? Like, I don't know what's real and what's not real these days. I don't know what's fake news but on my feed, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm a fucking nut, but on my feed, I get NFL, NBA, it's all rigged like all the time. Like, look at these plays, I get that all the time. I'm like, the only way in my opinion, you could rig an NFL game would be like the refs. You can't like have like to like tell a quarterback or a wide receiver drop a ball, throw an interception, like that'll come out eventually. I think, I don't know, but like since there's holding virtually on every play on the line and pass interference, like pretty much every fucking play in those, that way you can actually rig it through the refs. I could be wrong, but I think the Kansas City Chiefs had no holding calls like the last 3 Super Bowls or something. Is that true? I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
Is that real? I mean, could that be real?
Listen, a lot of it is very interesting conjecture from people who want it to be true. And I love questioning all the mainstream anything. I think that's the important way for all of us to do it, to be open-minded, to be a critical thinker. If it can stand up against the scrutiny, then it's going to last. But I don't believe that my sport is rigged. I think, as we know from the NBA, and there's a great documentary by the Untold People about Mr. Donahue, who was an NBA ref, he was tied into some bettors or mob something and was able to I think he was over 80% impact in the outcome for the team that he and the people who were betting alongside him were doing. But listen, the Bill Vinovich is the head ref who did the Super Bowl. I have a ton of respect for Bill. I think he's one of the best, if not the best in the game. And there's always interesting like assignments for referees. And sometimes you wonder, like, how is this guy getting this big game? Because maybe they're not the best referee. Bill Vinovich is a damn good referee. And so when I saw he was going to be doing the Super Bowl, I felt good that it was going to be ref the right way. And a lot of us players, and referees as well, they don't want to be the story. I think for the most part, there's some who enjoy throwing a lot of flags, but Bill and his crew over the years, and this is a super crew. So it's, in the NFL's opinion, and some of this again, it's their own grading system, but you have the best white cap referee, you have the best umpire, the best line judge, the best side judge, the best back judge, and so on. So it's not a crew that's worked together the entire year, because most of these crews, they work every single game together. So this is a super crew. But I think with Bill being the white cap, most of his games, they like to let the players play. And unless there's an egregious call, they're not going to make, they're not going to throw a lot of flags. And I felt like for the most part that it was a very evenly reffed game. Now, when you go back and look at each individual play, you can say, Nick Bosa got held on these 3 plays, and he's obviously a dominant player, and I don't know how you block him without holding him. But I think for the most part, fans, players, people that love the league, they don't want to see a ton of flags. And so you got to kind of pick and choose. You can't be ripping the refs all the time about throwing ticky-tack calls, but you can, because if you want to always be offended about something.
If you lost a bet,
I get it. But I think,
have you seen those videos of dudes like breaking like that?
I saw somebody break a TV. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, come on, man. This is not what you should be doing.
It is kind of crazy though. It is crazy that like these videos I'm talking about where the team loses, they miss a field goal, and there's a party, and there's a big screen, and a guy just comes up and punches it. But the thing about that is, these days you go to Costco, you could pick one of those up for $300. So if the guy lost $2,000, it's like not that big of a deal. Yeah. Dude, the big screen TVs used to be like 10 G's.
Oh, I know. When I got a plasma TV when I was coming out for the draft, I was like, this is the fucking coolest thing ever. It was like retail at $10,000. I was like, oh my God, I'm so rich right now. Look at this. That thing started pixelating a few years in. I'm like, okay.
You know, what's crazy is what happened to Brett Favre happened to you too. Because Brett Favre, you know, he thought the Packers were going to use their first round pick on like a receiver or something, or like a defensive lineman or something. And then they picked you, and that's a clear sign. And they didn't tell him. That's a clear sign that they're getting ready to replace him. So he felt like, fuck. Like you guys weren't, I mean, you guys were cool and everything together, but you guys weren't like best buddies or anything like that. It's kind of like the nature of the game, you know, you want his job and, you know, he wants to keep his job. And then you win a Super Bowl, MVP, you're a fucking legend. And then the Packers do the same thing and get Jordan Love. And so it's like the same exact thing, like what, 10 years apart or something like that, 15 years apart?
Yeah,
Like
15 years apart, yeah.
Yeah. But you've been cool to Jordan Love. Like everything I've heard you say about him, you've been like really cool. You're like happy for him and shit. It didn't seem like Brett Favre was that happy with that situation.
Well, it's not an easy situation, especially if you think you can still play and want to still play, you know, because it's a strong message. It doesn't matter how they try and spin it. Somebody's making that decision thinking this is our guy, and the guy that's playing right now, his days are numbered.
Yeah.
Now, for me, you know, the things that weren't the same was I got drafted, we went 4-12, and Brett led the league in interceptions. And they didn't kick him out because it was a different era, you know. And then the next year we were 8-8, and they didn't say, "Hey, time to move on." Then the year after that, we went to the NFC Championship, and he had a really
with
good
Brett
year.
Favre, the
In
third
2008, yeah, 2007, yes.
So you were a backup for 3 years.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so was Jordan.
Yes.
Yeah, so he was backup 20, 21, and 22.
Damn,
So in
exact same
2020, we went 13-3. I won MVP, and we lost the NFC Championship. And then in 2021, we went 13-4, and I won MVP. And we lost in the divisional round. And then 2022, we missed playoffs. And they're like, okay, now it might be time, you know?
Yeah.
So a little different from that respect, but the writing was on the wall, and I knew it. I knew it was coming down. I did feel like when I won the back-to-back MVPs that maybe that was changing things, and maybe they said, oh, well, maybe we were a little premature on thinking it was time to move on from this guy. But you know, I'm thankful for my time. And also I remembered what it was like to be a backup to Brett, and remember what it felt like to be the other guy in the room. So for me, I tried to make Jordan feel as comfortable. That was a cool moment. And that's actually, you know, kind of got us to be friends again, and actually brought the team. And I think everybody was like, okay, now it's time to forgive Brett. Let's move on. You know, we're happy with our starting quarterback. We can respect the run that he had, and the MVPs and the Super Bowl, and how much fun it was to watch him. So actually 2 years after that, they retired his number. Had a real cool deal, because the Packer Hall of Fame is 4 years after you retire. You can go in the Packers Hall of Fame, and the NFL Hall of Fame is 5 years after you retire. So it was cool to bring him back in 2015 to retire his number, put him in the Hall of Fame, obviously in our Hall of Fame in Green Bay where he belongs, and kind of bring him back into the Packer family. So, but I remembered all that stuff that happened to me, and so I just didn't want Jordan to have the exact same experience. I'm thankful for the time with Brett. I mean, I learned a ton from him by watching, you know, and when you get to watch greatness, you can't help but get better, because you every single day are reminded there's a guy in the room who's better than you. And so you either like feel shitty about yourself, or you go, I'm gonna figure out what the hell he's doing, because I want to do what he does. And that's the most important thing that any quarterback can do. Is it's not as simple as a 1-step drop, a 3-step drop, a 5-step drop, a 7-step drop, a play action drop. Every route has to be tied to the footwork.
I want that upper body clench. That's what I'm going after. With the underhook, looking for double underhooks. That's a juicy ass clinch. Perfect double underhooks. You're on your side. Boom. That's all perfect. That's huge. In my game, for me, I'm like, I got this motherfucker. First fight in Abu Dhabi, 2003, against Gustavo Dantas. I got right in and got perfect double underhooks. I'm like, oh my God, I had him in a lockdown, perfect double underhook, really quick. He just gave it to me. I'm like, and I was just sitting there going, oh my God, he just gave it to me. That was just off a front headlock, 100%. Push into him. You want to smash him and then jump on that leg. You want to rush him So they don't have so they're off balance. You jump on that leg, you hook that leg, you're gonna take their back or put them in the truck. Either one. Does that make sense?
And I learned about that by watching him and incorporated my own game. And I think that's how you're accurate. People always like, how is accuracy? How do you work on accuracy? I'm like, it starts with your feet. You throw from the ground up. If your feet are in a position to throw, I'm sure there's carryovers in jiu-jitsu, but if your feet are in the right position, you give yourself a way higher percentage of being accurate with the football. If your feet are all over the place, and there's a lot of guys that aren't fundamentally great in the NFL right now, it's really hard to be accurate because everything needs to be synced up. And Brett was so good at syncing up his feet with the route concept so he could throw the ball on time. Throw the ball on time, in rhythm, you're going to be accurate.
What specific routine do you do to work on? Is there like a thing you could do by yourself, boom, boom, where you're working on your feet?
I think a lot of it is just, one thing that's really important is muscle memory and having a good recall. So being in tune with your body so much that you can feel what each individual throw feels like. So based on my drop and based on my hitch and based on my momentum, how far can I throw this with this footwork? If I'm throwing a deep ball, or what does it feel like to take a tight hitch at the top of a drop and throw a curl route 12 yards on the number on those routes. And the best way to do that is to throw with your guys. But it can't just be mindless stuff of intentionality. Everything that we do needs to have a purpose, because otherwise we're just out here doing in the head, outside right, outside left, whatever it might be. I think all those things are really important. You got to have the recall to remember what that feels like.
Every time you do a move, like you said, it's got to have intention. The intention when you're practicing is to program your DNA, because when at the high level, there's no time to think. Your body's just got to do it on its own. And the only way your body's going to do it on its own perfectly is if you physically program your DNA. And in jiu-jitsu, it's everything. So that's what the drilling is. The drilling is doing it so much that you could do it in an unconscious state. Like you could just, you could do it asleep. You could do it on heroin. You know what I mean? Because your body, you programmed your DNA, and that's what it's all about. And you're talking about the footwork too, and how important it is to time the footwork with the routes and all that. And at the same time, then when the play's broken and the pocket collapses and you're forced to scramble, and you're fucking the scrambles and then like Mahomes just throwing it off his back foot or whatever, or running to your left and throwing the rolling out to the left, throwing with your right hand. Then that's like the footwork is like that's like I don't even know what you'd call that footwork. It's like anti footwork, but it's not. It's like. It's not correct. You're throwing off, just crazy angles. And you and Mahomes probably all time, off the top of my head, you and Mahomes are the best at throwing when you're scrambling. You think the play's busted, the defense is happy, you're scrambling, and then boom, first down or touchdown. It's like very few quarterbacks can do that. And Geno Smith, he played the Browns, so I got to watch him. Like, damn, so many times we thought he was done, and he escapes and he just throws up some shit and it's perfect. It's crazy.
But you got to practice it. You have to practice that. And I think that's the thing, that if you look at some of these guys who aren't great at it, I would guess they just don't, there's plays in practice you get shut down. It looks like it's a sack, you're going against your defense, and they blow the whistle. And for years, I'm thankful Mike McCarthy and the West Coast offense, he never wasted a play. So defense, you go back and watch the film, good job, you got a sack. Offense, second reaction, third reaction, quarterback, extend the play. Now let's work the scramble drill. And I promise you, Andy Reid grew up in the West Coast offense, and he was around the Bill Walshes of the world, the Mike Holmgrens of the world, and that's how you drilled. You never wasted a rep. So the stuff that Pat does, I can promise you he does it in practice. And him and I are both talented enough to where we can make some plays that maybe we haven't quite made the exact play in practice, but I promise you there's a lot of throws that he can harken back in the moment and go, oh, I remember this one. I remember what it feels like to run full speed left and throw it back across to the right. I remember, full speed to the right and pump fake and look back left and no look it back to the side. There's just stuff the best work at that stuff in practice. And just, to be great, you have to first master the simple things, right? And if you do that, you can last in whatever you're doing for a while. But then can you train yourself, like you were saying, you train yourself to have the reactions that put you in the best position to be successful, to where there's second nature, to where I don't have to think about getting out to the right, running full speed, what my body has to do in this throwing position. It's just because I've drilled it. You already figured out the simple stuff. Now can I become an expert at the second reactions? And that's when you can take your game, whether it's jiu-jitsu, business, or football, to the next level.
Yeah, man. And then when you won the Super Bowl, now you replace like Brett Favre actually retires, and then you're in, and then he changes his mind.
You did that a few times. See,
he comes back. Yeah. He did it a couple of times, right? He changes his mind and comes back, which is awesome. You know, when Tom Brady changed his mind, I was cool. That's one of Tom Brady. Once he left New England and went to the NFC, I was a fan. Like, you're in the NFC. I like Tom Brady. I'm like, that motherfucker won like how many Super Bowls? Like seven. Yeah. Holy shit. How could you not like that guy? And he's 45.
Well, I think people, I mean, there's a lot of people that don't like him, you know, because it's like with Michael Jordan or any type of greatness at the highest level. Most people that love him or hate him, right? Because they hate that he keeps winning.
In the AFC East.
You love a winner. Yeah, well, AFC East for sure.
AFC East going to hate him. Like, they can't stand him. but man, he pretty much, I mean, he's given a lot of quarterbacks hope that you can go into your 40s, man. You know, look at Joe Flacco. Everyone gave up on him. And then he had a great year with the Browns. It's like a movie, man. And then, man, watching all the film on you, man, holy shit. Like I said, I was never a Green Bay fan. Every time I watch,
we only play the Browns one every 4 years, so
yeah. I wasn't I had you in the periph. I knew you were a bad motherfucker. I knew all that shit, but I wasn't really paying attention. Wasn't like, oh, I love Aaron Rodgers, but since you stood up to the jab mandates and you went through all that shit, I'm like, I fucking love that guy. That guy, you're the only dude in the NFL that has the balls to stand up to the jab mandates. I'm like, everybody in the truth community loves you, man. Like whatever team you play for, like, dude, whatever team you play for, I'm watching you and I'm rooting for you, man. There's no way I'm gonna root against you unless you're playing the Browns and then you're dead to me. But any other game, dude, I'm down for Aaron Rodgers, dude. And I really think I'm not just saying this. I think you have like 3-4 years left, maybe. You know, strong years. Like people are saying, oh, he's, you know, dude, what are you, like 39, 40? For all your 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu merchandise, please visit 10thplanetjj.com/shop. We also got a Look Into It t-shirt that just dropped. Thank you very much for your support.
40, yeah.
That's, dude, you could go to your 45.
There's some things working against me. You know, obviously I had a bad Achilles injury, but
tell me about that. Like, it seemed like you healed really quick. Like, how did that happen?
Well, there's a lot to it, and a lot that goes into it. There's obviously the type of surgery we did, and I have an incredible surgeon who also worked on Kobe Bryant and a number of other people. But there was kind of a newer, like last decade or so type of surgery where they actually anchor the Achilles into the heel to give it some strength. You can get on your feet quicker. I don't know how you feel about injuries. I've always felt like the quicker you move it, for the most part, that's how you promote the healing and blood flow and different things. And I've found a lot of healing in doing that. Here's one of my 4 plays. Here's a play I got hurt.
You know what? Go back.
Thanks for showing that. I really appreciate that.
Show that again.
Yeah. The diet, how important it was to, what's the most important vitamins to take during this time? How important is collagen from bone broth to promoting healing? What are some of the frequency devices that can help? Does red light therapy help? What type of laser is best for all these things? So I had some great people around me who helped me. My chef was amazing. My body work guy was amazing. My rehab, head of rehab, Heather over at Elite, was incredible. And just kind of all that together put me in a position where I was healing pretty damn quick. And for better or worse, I've been kind of a consultant for some of these guys on their Achilles. There's a lot of guys that tore their Achilles, including Dre Greenlaw, who just tore his Achilles in the Super Bowl running onto the field. I don't know if you saw that. It was like during the TV timeout. It's fucking ridiculous. and I feel terrible for him. And Dre just hit me up, and if I can be a resource for him, I watched Jalen Phillips plays for the Dolphins, awesome player. I watched him from the sidelines tear his Achilles. I knew it. He was come out of a stance, and his leg just fucking popped. And him and I have become friends through this. Kirk Cousins did his at Lambeau, actually. And we talked a lot about some of the stuff that I did. So it's been fun to be encouragement to those guys. But I attack the rehab every single day. It's different for me than like the normal person who has a job, who has responsibilities. I made this my sole responsibility. Every single day was, how can I get better in rehab? How can I be my best with my diet today, with my fluid intake? Just everything down to a T to try and get better. And I got back on the practice field late in the season and couldn't get to a top speed sprinting, but really been in a good place rehab wise from the start and feeling really good. And, again, I'm hopeful I can play 2 or 3 or 4 more years. But you need to have some good fortune there too.
Now, where did you get your stem cells at? Did you go to Mexico?
I did not. No. Do you know Brigham at all? Waste to Well?
Are they in the United States?
Yeah, they're Joe works with them, Rogan. So yeah. Joe, gave me he gave me a recommendation. Yeah, Brigham. I've known him for not a long time. I've known him for before I got this surgery. I went and saw him for some IV treatments. But are you into that at all? Doing vitamin drips or NAD or any of that stuff?
No. Well, when it comes to stems, in the United States, you can't do the best stems. There's all these regulations. So that's why people go to
Panama and Tijuana are two of the top ones.
CPI in Tijuana. That's where I go. Cellular Performance Institute. You go right to San Diego. There's a hotel right there on the bay. You go there Sunday night, spend the night. They pick you up Monday morning in a badass shuttle. They drive you across the border. People think oh, TJ, it's so dangerous. Most of TJ is like favelas, like shanty towns, but they do got one area, one street where you're walking down the street in TJ, you think you were in West LA. You're like, whoa, this is TJ. And the institute is right by the beach. There's a beach in TJ. I wasn't even thinking about that.
I didn't know about that either.
Oh yeah, dude. So many people, they fixed both my shoulders, man.
Yeah.
I had shoulder surgery on my bicep came off and they had to tie it up and I re-injured. It was all fucked up. I thought I was going to have surgery again. And then they shot it up, boom, healed. And then I tore my labrum on this shoulder and I was ready to go get surgery. So I go, let's go back down to TJ. Boom, they hit it up again. Bam. Right. You stay there for 4 days. They do everything. Hyperbaric chamber, IV, every Gerson therapy. They fucking do everything. It's man. I mean, there's people going to Panama and Colombia, you just go right here to San Diego. Yeah, I know some people have been to Panama and had some success, and I researched that spot in Tijuana, and it's the dosage of stem cells is so much higher outside the U.S. because of the regulations, and that's a whole nother conversation of topic around health in this country. But it is too bad that you have to go to a place like that. A friend of mine who had his dad had what is it, MS or muscular dystrophy, one of the two, and went to Panama, got stem cells. I saw him one day. He was in a wheelchair. I saw him 3 months later, and he walked down the aisle and officiated a wedding from stem cells. So it's legit, dude. It's pretty amazing. I lived like a mother. I wasn't able to do any bench press for a year and a half, just a nagging shoulder injury. I didn't know, I was like, I guess I have to get another surgery because I had surgery on this one. I go, God, I'm gonna get surgery on this one, be in a sling for 2 months. That's the worst, yeah. Yeah, it sucks. Oh, man. Especially when I had my right arm, I'm right-handed. Man, and they say it's like brushing your teeth with your left hand. I'm like, now you know what it's like. But the crazy thing, wiping your ass with your left hand, same thing. It's like brushing your teeth with your left hand. It's the same thing. And jerking off, dog. That's fuck. But the one thing that was proven for me again, time and time again, is reps fix everything. Because after 3 weeks, dude, I'm brushing my teeth with my left hand and it feels like my right hand. That's true. wiping my ass with my left hand. Shit.
The sleeping though never, because I broke my collarbone, and so I dealt with all that same stuff. But the sleeping I never got used to. I'm a side sleeper, so I couldn't sleep on my back. That fucking
that's
killed
horrible.
me. The other wiping your ass, you figure that out. Brushing your teeth, you figure that out. But
2-3 weeks and you're in there. You just got to put the reps in. You know,
what do you do when you go back? Do you go back to the right, or do you stay with the left?
No, you go back to the right, because the right had, like, you had all your whole life to work on this one. You know what I mean? This is the one that gets all the right hand gets all the reps. It's really like, you know, people think like, oh, you're left-handed because your left brain is controlling you, and you're right-handed, you're right, or whatever. People think that you're right-handed or left-handed because of your brain, and that's the biggest fucking. You know, there's so much horse shit. Like our history is all horse shit. Like most science is horse shit, right? Another big fucking pile of shit is you're left-handed because your brain, like you're born left-handed or you're born right-handed. No, it's not that at all. It's reps. Whatever got the most reps. When you're a kid, you write with your right hand because most people are writing with their right hand because the person that taught them is writing with their right hand. But if you write with your left hand from day one, you'll be left-handed. And then it's like whatever you do with your right hand that first day, if you just do it, the next day you're going to have more reps with it. So it's going to feel weird with your left hand. So over time, your right hand just gets all the reps and gets more dexterous and it gets more like athletic or whatever, more coordinated hand-eye coordination. And then your left hand just becomes the backup hand. But in jiu-jitsu, that gets all thrown out the window. And that's how I know it's all bullshit. Because in jiu-jitsu, people think like, oh, you get a rear naked choke. If you're right-handed, you choke them out with your right hand. And if you're left-handed, you choke them out with your left hand. But that's like saying one arm is more important than the other. And that's not true. Yeah. Both arms are important, equally important in every single move. Both hands are important. I'm right-handed. I choke everybody with my left hand because of the transitions that I repped and got into. It just worked out that I choked everybody out with my left arm. So it's like, you know, and then there's like another example is like left-handed kids. Like for some reason, their parents just let them write with their left hand. They became left-handed and they started doing everything with their left hand, combing their hair. So the left hand just became more
dominant.
Dominant, exactly. That's all it is. So what happens is in music, there's not very many left-handed guitars. Most guitars are made for right-handed guys. So if a kid starts playing guitar, you should tell him, and he's left-handed, just play right-handed because it doesn't matter. Because your left hand and your right hand both have the equally as important jobs in guitar. Your left hand, like what's more important? They're both important. Yeah. Right? Same thing with drums. They're both important. Both hands are same thing. So I've known plenty of left-handed guys that started playing guitar with right-handed, and they're just right-handed guitar players, and they shred. They don't suck. Because that's what they started playing. It's like whatever.
The left hand is almost more important on the guitar.
Right hand is just as important. Right hand is just as important.
No, I'm just saying, like, if you're just strumming, the left hand is doing all the work. You know, if you're finger picking, then you're doing a little bit more with the right hand.
Yeah. So it evens itself out because when you're like playing a lot of notes, man, your right hand's got to be totally coordinated to every note that your left hand hits, your right hand's hitting it. Unless you're hammering, that's a little different. But anybody that wants to start playing guitar that's left-handed, just play right-handed guitars. Don't go looking for left-handed guitars. There isn't that many because when you're day one when you're playing guitar, you're gonna suck either way. It's gonna feel like you're brushing your teeth with your left hand with both hands,
and it's gonna hurt too.
Yeah, it's gonna
the
be
ends
the
of your
same
fingers
thing.
are gonna hurt pretty bad.
You know what I thought? I swear to God, I thought when I had the football fantasy in my head when I was a kid, I thought for a while there I didn't know what I was gonna play. Was I gonna play quarterback or wide receiver or middle linebacker? I didn't know. But if I was, I thought, you know what? Maybe I'll be the first quarterback to be able to throw with both hands. So I'm rolling out to my left, I'll throw with my left. If I'm rolling out to my right, I'll throw with my right. I can't believe no one else has done that, right?
I wanted to be the first ambidextrous pitcher. I wanted to pitch, and then there's been a couple of people who've actually done it.
Lately there are, right?
Yeah. But at the time, there was nobody. I was like, I want to be the first one to throw a pitch left-handed and right-handed in the same game.
Dude, I thought the same thing. I bet that's a bunch of kids like fantasies and shit. To be the first. So what? Obviously, you're not a zombie. you didn't fall for all the all the jab shit and all the come on, man. If people haven't figured
Mass formation psychosis.
yes, that's exactly what it is. You didn't fall for that. It's amazing that you're the only one in the NFL. Is there any other guys?
I'm
that
not the
aren't
only
zombies?
one, though. I mean, I'm not. I was.
You're the only one to speak up. You're the only one.
Well,
To,
there was other guys who did, but just I was the most notable one, because I was the MVP the previous year. So I was one of the more top handful of guys that
yeah, I
the
get it.
average
I get it.
the menial fan would know who I was, and so I was attacking the big pharma that was paying a lot of money in advertisements, and they sent out a shill to each team to try and raise the vaccination levels and all these different things that they did that I butted up against, and they wanted to keep me down. But there were a lot of people who were with me in the struggle but just couldn't do it, because you know how it is. It's not any different than these people who had to make a decision: get jabbed or lose your job. I mean, you're talking about life and death stuff. You're talking about people that had to put on a decision. Can I put food on the table for my family, or, and take a jab, or not? And it was tough. And there were obviously, other circumstances around that. I think anybody that, got a fake card, that immediately eliminated them from being able to speak up as well.
Yeah.
Because you can't speak up against the vaccine when on paper it says you've gotten vaccinated. So there was obviously a lot of that. I mean, as I look back, I wish there had been more people, and I'm not going to name names, but there's certain people you could probably guess that I would be very surprised if they'd actually got vaccinated based on their own personal health choices that are fairly well known. That there was a few of us who spoke up about it, and nobody maybe, who got as more scrutiny or spoke up more than me, because obviously I went through an immunization process with a holistic doctor, and then went through a whole appeal with the NFL that happened during training camp of 2021 that I ended up losing. This is a short story, but one that I enjoyed telling. I get back to training camp day one. There's 5 now. The NFL back up. The NFL mandated experimental gene therapy shots for every full-time employee. Right, so it wasn't even, you didn't have a choice. So every full-time employee got gene therapy, so-called vaccine. And day one, 5 of them are out. 5 members of our personnel staff are out with COVID. I'm in a conversation with one of the head doctors of the NFL, and he's basically telling me, I'm paraphrasing here, that I'm a conspiracy theorist because I told him that it's possible to contract and transmit COVID even if you've gotten the jab. And he says I was a conspiracy theorist for that, and basically hung up on the call. And I said, I'm literally telling you, there's 5 people who work here who are out of work now with COVID, and you're telling me that it's not possible? What are we even talking about here? And they sent, like I said, they sent this stooge out that I, questioned about, why are you pushing this vaccine on people without giving people religious exemptions or health exemptions? Why are you pushing this, so-called vaccine that the manufacturers have, complete immunity? I said, where's the liability at in this whole thing? And there was, at the beginning of the season, there were 7 of us who were in the other group. So if you weren't vaccinated, you had to wear a yellow wristband around the facility to let everybody know that you weren't vaxxed. You had rules that the vaccinated players, or so-called vaccinated players, didn't have, which included you couldn't basically go out to a restaurant, you couldn't go to a bar, you couldn't go to a comedy club, you couldn't go to a concert, you couldn't go anywhere when we were on the road. Which hilariously enough, all that went away once the season got to the end, and they said, hey, playoffs is almost here. We've made our money. Let's make sure that we don't miss any games because of a COVID outbreak. So all of us who had to fucking test every single day, all that testing went away. And you only tested if you're symptomatic, which again, we could go on for a long time about the hypocrisy in this whole thing. but I feel pretty proud of that I kind of stood in the fire even after I tested positive and fucking got hammered and lost sponsorships and all these different things. I'm thankful for a lot of people that backed me up both publicly and privately. And as you look back now, and there's just a report out today that I saw in the New York Post, which I'm sure was dumbed down a little bit, but it talked about a study that came out that the vax increases your risk of a lot of different health issues, which we all could have guessed. Everybody who's in the know, and as an aside, anybody who hasn't read RFK Jr.'s The Real Anthony Fauci, you're really doing yourself a disservice. Whether you didn't get jabbed, got jabbed, it's an incredible lesson. And the reason history is so important is not that you can learn from the past, is that you can recognize when history is repeating itself. And this book tells you that there was a playbook from the 80s with this AIDS crisis.
Yeah.
And the same guy was in charge back then, who was on TV, stirring up fear, vilifying detractors, vilifying any early treatments in favor of, back in the 80s, AZT, which was killing people. In the 2020s, what was it? Remdesivir.
Yep.
And what's another similarity? AZT was costing these patients an exorbitant amount of money that they couldn't pay. And if you've seen the movie Dallas Buyers Club, starring Matthew McConaughey, fantastic movie, the villain in that movie is that guy in the screen right now, Anthony Fauci, who made his career out of making decisions that were in the best interest of Big Pharma. And he did it again the entire time, whether it was NIAID or the NIH or any other alphabet, organization that actually doesn't have the best interest of the American people. Read that book, which RFK has not been sued for defamation, for libel. Why? Because he researched the shit out of it. And it's fact, and there's studies backing it up. It's crazy there's still people who are like pro the vax, thankful they got jabbed.
Zombies.
Zombies. It's wild.
The craziest part of all that is that there are some people that believe that there was no COVID, that all they did was hijack the flu. And I'm one of those guys that believe that. You know why I believe that? From personal experience. Because I know the opposite of social distancing, the exact opposite. It doesn't go any, it's at the opposite end of the spectrum, is jujitsu. Because not only are we close together, the opposite of social distancing, but we're squeezing each other as hard as we can, sweating, drenched in sweat, like we just jumped in a pool. And then after 8 minutes, we mix it up and go with another strange man that we squeeze and we're like spitting and we're all over each other. And if COVID was real, jiu-jitsu would have been wiped the fuck out. And guess how many people died in jiu-jitsu? I got 200 schools. Guess how many people we never stopped training. We just closed up the front and pretend we were closed. We just fucking kept going because we knew it was bullshit. And we kept training. And guess how many people died? Nobody. Zero. And you know what? God bless Dr. Peter McCullough. He's out there saying, don't take the jab. It's going to fuck your heart up. It's going to fuck you up in 1,000 different ways. But he's also saying that the COVID's real too. And he was on Alex Jones while I was there on Alex Jones too. And I asked him, I was like, because the flu disappeared. No one had the flu. The flu was gone. And all
that's
of a
good
sudden,
chart to bring up if you can. The flu cases.
The flu's gone.
The previous years.
And I asked Peter McCullough. I go, because I'm arguing with him. He's just on the don't take the vaccine. It's dangerous. Don't take the vaccine. And I God bless him for that. He's a fucking warrior. He's a savage. But I want to go into how the whole scamdemic took place and what was needed for it to take place. So I asked him, I go, well, then how come nobody in jiu-jitsu, not just my 200 schools, but nobody in the entire jiu-jitsu world that I ever heard of died of COVID. A lot of people died of the vax. A lot of people got myocarditis and strokes. I have personal friends that got jabbed. You know, I got people in my association that really weren't thinking. They wanted to travel and they got jabbed. Now they have permanent heart fucking damage, strokes. I had one student that died. He trained and then he went right to the hospital. He had heart problems. He was dead. You know, he was overweight and he probably didn't eat right. You know, because what did the flu do? Who did the flu take out? A pneumonia. The flu and pneumonia took out the weak. You know, people with comorbidities.
Yeah.
And they were fat or whatever. Turns out
elderly,
that's what COVID took out. After all the data, turns out that like most of the people that died of the flu /COVID had at least 4 comorbidities and were overweight and old. It didn't take, how many people died in the NFL? 0. NBA, 0. Baseball, 0. And then Peter McCullough says, because, you know, for jiu-jitsu, you guys have developed an immunity to bacteria and viruses. I'm like, even if that's true, then our white belts, our beginning students should have been dead. What about them? You just walk into a jiu-jitsu school and you're fucking immune. It doesn't make any sense. Nobody died. If what he was saying was right, then then that would mean do jiu-jitsu and you don't have to worry about COVID because none of us fucking died. People started dying after they started getting jabbed. You know, so Hibbler, you got that Fluvid trailer? You got that? Check this out.
Everything your government has told you about this virus is a lie.
Trust the experts, trust the experts.
Are you afraid of the flu? Don't bother me. I mean, that's the reality of how people perceive flu. So we really do have a problem of how the world perceives influenza, and it's going to be very difficult to change that unless you do it from within and say, I don't care what your perception is, we're going to address the problem in a disruptive way and in an iterative way, because you do need both.
Make sure you wear your mask at all times. Do your part. It is a federal crime. We catch you with that mask below your nose.
Don't ask questions.
Do what you are told. It is for your safety.
We have 33 confirmed positive tests.
COVID-19 in Thailand remains at 33.
33.
33. 33. 33.
33.
There were 33 confirmed cases in North Carolina.
33. There was 33 everywhere. I think that was Red Team Go. I think 33 is like Red Team Go. Everybody goes, okay, let's do it. It's time.
89% until 94% of those PCR tests are false positive.
It doesn't tell you that you're sick, and it doesn't tell you that the thing you ended up with really was going to hurt you or anything like that.
Everyone who's listed as a COVID death doesn't mean that was the cause of the death.
We didn't understand that it's a fairly low fatality rate and that it's a disease mainly of the elderly, kind of like flu is.
This isn't going to be run on CNN for a week.
No flu to be found.
You got lied to and fell for this shit.
We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin.
Why are we being pressured to add COVID?
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
You are correct. I should not be giving these vaccines at all.
You've been subject to propaganda and lies by people who are very well trained in how they do that.
Only one person in the entire state died from the flu.
So when you deny this stuff, or when you don't want to believe this stuff, you don't want to face reality, it's only hurting you.
They relied on people's ignorance.
Everybody sees what's going on. People woke up, man. They're not looking for anybody to save them. They're saving themselves.
There's your flu last year. Here's your flu this year. Literally doesn't even exist.
Yeah, come on. And you know what? Brett Weinstein, super genius, probably the most articulate motherfucker I've ever heard. And he goes on Joe Rogan's podcast on a regular basis. And, you know, he was all academia'd out and knew, you know, very scientific. I don't know if he was an astrophysicist or whatever he was, but he was super well read. That was obvious just by you just hear him talk. And he said on like few days ago, he was just on Joe Rogan, and this genius has awakened. So now this genius mind that he has, he's breaking down what the fuck is going on in the world, and it's so dark and so scary. You listen to that podcast. He doesn't say it.
I saw it.
It's scary, dog, because he's basically saying, Joe, it's not about money. Because if this was about money, they wouldn't be doing the things that, like when you said, like when a platform,
well, how about what he's talking about, the two different migration groups, right? You have the Spanish speaking group and you have the Chinese group.
Yep.
And he's talking about the scariest thing, which I've actually thought about for years. I said, no, like American loving soldier is going to turn on their people, right?
Yeah.
But who would turn on their people? And he mentions it. He mentioned on the podcast, what happens if they offer citizenship for military service? That's a fucking scary thought. And what bill was just brought into the Congress, I believe yesterday, a day before, that exact type of bill, offering citizenship for immigration, for immigrants.
Yeah.
For joining the military.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. And they're letting,
if I may, can I just, I want to jump back and make this point to to that trailer, which is fucking crazy. But people are always like, why don't you, with me, they have, there's a playbook, right? There's a playbook for the zombie people that, it's name calling, it's canceling, it's silencing, it's name calling, it's, label you as whatever they want, racist, far right, anti-Semite, bigot, quack, tinfoil, whatever they want to say, right? They're just trying to quiet you because they're not quieting you because you're lying. They're quieting you because you're telling too much of the truth. But they're always like, why are you still fucking talking about COVID? Why don't you just give it up? It's because of what we went through. You got to remember all that shit. We went through all of that. We went through the numbers on a TV ticking up for cases and deaths. We
closing
went through
beaches, closing beaches.
Arresting surfers. We went through the ridiculous shit in the NFL, going through with no fans. Anthony Fauci shut down the country and lied over and over. How many people died because he vilified early treatments that worked? They vilified ivermectin. They changed Joe Rogan's color on CNN to make him look yellow, and called him he was ingesting horse dewormer. He made up stories in Oklahoma about shooting victims not being able to get in the ER because of all the people ODing on ivermectin, which we've said many times. Anybody who knows anything about it have talked about. The guy that invented it won the Nobel Prize for it. One of the safest profiles in the world was used in Uttar Pradesh, Japan, Mexico, all over the world, Africa. It's a commonly used drug there because it's antiviral purposes against malaria, HCQ, zinc, Z-Pack, vitamin D, fucking go outside. No, don't go outside. All the shit that we went through. Don't forget this because, like I said, like you learn in the real Anthony Fauci, right? The blueprint, the game plan was made in the 80s. Create a pandemic, with a virus that's going wild, right? Fauci was given like over $350 million to research this, to come up with drugs, new or repurposed, to handle the AIDS pandemic. And all they came up with was AZT. And if you do even a smidge of research, and I know I'm not a, epidemiologist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not an immunologist, whatever the fuck. I can read though, right? And I can learn and look things up just like any normal person. I can do my own research, which was so vilified, to even question authority. But that was the game plan back then. Create an environment where only one thing works. Back then, AZT. Now, remdesivir until we get a vaccine, which, by the way, Anthony Fauci had stake in the Moderna vaccine. And we know Pfizer is one of the most criminally corrupt organizations ever. The fine they paid was the biggest in the history of the DOJ in 2009. Like, what are we talking about? We're going to put our full trust in science that can't be questioned, aka propaganda, right? Yeah. Our entire world and economy shut down, lives lost, people died alone. They put people on ventilators, which had like an over 80% death rate. Remdesivir, $3,000 a dose instead of ivermectin for $10. I mean, there was a one case, or one guy I was researching on, heard a story about. He was a lawyer who was trying to file injunctions against hospitals. You probably know this story. And at one point, he had filed 12 injunctions for families to try and get them to force the hospital to give their loved one ivermectin. 6 cases he won. They got the injunction. They gave the loved one ivermectin. They lived. 6 cases he lost. All 6 people died.
And they gave him what, remdesivir?
They didn't give him ivermectin.
Oh.
And and just like back in the day when they rigged the studies against all these drugs that the Buyers Club were repurposing, right, to give the AIDS patients, right? They rigged the studies. They rigged the studies for ivermectin. They rigged the studies against HCQ. They overdosed these people or changed, gave them the doses way too late when we knew it wouldn't help against COVID. Like all the bullshit that we went through. The reason I still talk about it is because they're going to do it again. And you got to be ready for the signs.
You can't. The last thing you want to do is stop talking about this and forget about it. That's the fucking last thing. Like, we're not forgetting about 9/11 too. We're going to keep going. Nobody got busted for 9/11, but let's keep talking about it, because if you forget it, it's going to happen again, And, there's doctors out there, a lot of doctors that are like figuring out that, like you just said, a lot of, you just said a lot of studies were rigged. Apparently, doctors that I've had on my podcast, they're saying that they're leaving, they're, throwing their medical license in the trash and just doing their own thing and just doing some real research on what really makes people sick. And there's a study from the 1920s where they took 100 people with the Spanish flu and 100 prisoners that were healthy. And I think they told the prisoners, if you go through this study, that you'll be free, something like that. But it was 100 prisoners healthy, 100 people with Spanish flu, and they just mixed their saliva, spit on each other, took blood from the sick, injected it into the healthy, spit on each other, took loogies and swallowed and did everything and just mixed, and nobody got sick. There's at least 20 studies like that. According to, I seen one of the studies, Dr. Andrew Kaufman, he's one of those doctors that are like, dude, they're lying about fucking everything. They're saying, there's germ theory. Germ theory, in the basic sense, is people get each other sick. Like you have viruses or you have germs, and if you get too close to someone else, now you got them sick. Oh, you got me sick. You were sick. You got me sick. There's doctors now, and I've had 4 of them on my podcast, and they're all figuring out the same thing, that people don't get each other sick, and that viruses are not what you think they are. They're basically saying you get sick, like when you get the flu, that's your body pushing out toxins that you ate, toxins that you breathe, and when you have the flu and your body is pushing everything out. Like when you have staph infection, this is what they believe too. You have staph infection, that's your body taking all these toxins, trying to push it out. And when you take antibiotics, Andrew Kaufman never gives out antibiotics for staph. He goes, you're stopping the process of your body pushing out all these toxins that it collected from your diet or from the air. It seems like it healed. Like you took antibiotics, oh, it's gone. But all you did was stop the process of pushing it out. And then your body just saves it now. Now it's still in your body. And they believe that possibly there's links to cancer. Like maybe that's what cancer is, like tumors and stuff, is you never let your body push that stuff out. And when you have a cold, same thing. When you have a cold, your body's pushing out toxins.
Same thing with parasites, right? Have you looked into that part too? The parasite.
This is what they believe. This is what they believe. Like that. Like if you saw a dog dead, and on the train tracks and had been dead for a while, and it had maggots. Maggots were eating it all up. Saying viruses cause disease is like saying the dog died of maggots. You're like, oh my God, we need something that kills maggots. It doesn't make any sense. The dog died of something else. So that's what they're saying. So there's germ theory. That's the traditional, that's what every doctor believes practically, that people get each other sick. And then there's terrain theory, which is people don't get each other sick. There's been plenty of studies where people don't get each other sick. We get sick from the same thing. Like if some family member got sick and then another family member got sick, they would think, oh, you got me sick. Fuck. No, you guys got sick from the same thing. Maybe you ate the same thing. Maybe you breathed the same thing, but you got sick from the same thing. Maybe there's like, because we're in an electromagnetic ocean. We're run by electricity is everywhere. We're run by we're electrical beings. There's like a torus field. We're electric. Otherwise, we drop dead. When the electricity gets cut off, we're dead. We have no more power. So maybe there's like these like some electromagnetic like radioactive clouds that kind of come through and get us sick or something. Who knows? Who fucking knows? We're in a sea of electricity. Who the fuck knows? But there have been at least 20 studies that prove that people don't get each other sick. We get sick. So that's what I think is going on. They want us to believe what? Like climate change. We're causing climate change. We're getting each other sick. It's always the slave's fault. It's always the prisoner's fault. It's never their fault. Like and the whole Alex Jones, when he said they're making the frogs gay, what he was talking about was pesticides getting run into the water system. And, in studies, this is proven that I forget the name of the chemical that's in pesticides that changes your gender in frogs. They found out, damn, it's turning male frogs into female frogs. So that's what he meant. So I think that this giant new transgender movement thing that's like brand new, I think that they're trying to blame, they're trying to say that, oh no, it's just a normal thing. It's totally normal because they don't want to be liable for it. Because they're going to be like, can you imagine if they linked transgenderism to pesticides? Can you imagine like the class action lawsuits? So
it's a big moneymaker now.
Yeah.
So
Eric Weinstein said it on Joe Rogan's podcast. He said, he goes, there's people that think that, this was all fake. There wasn't a virus, he goes, I believe there was, because I got sick and it felt like weird, it didn't feel like the regular flu, yet all the symptoms are exactly like the flu. All the symptoms are exactly like the flu. And the one thing people say is like, oh, no, because when I got COVID, I couldn't smell anything and I couldn't taste anything. I'm like, dude, when you're sick and you have the flu, you can't taste anything. You don't notice that when you're sick. They're like people forgot, right? They forgot. Punch up Los Angeles Times, 1988. Flu flu can cause loss of smell or taste. Pull that up in the archives. So when people tell me like, dude, I kind of believe you that it is a flu, but dude, I had it and it wasn't like the flu, man. I couldn't taste or I couldn't smell anything, right? People say that. And a lot of people have said that. And so look at this, right? 1988, sense of smell, go back. Sense of smell can be victim of bout with flu. That's 1988, February 21, 1988. So that's like, for me, I thought it was common sense. People were saying, oh, I couldn't smell anything. I couldn't taste anything. That's what the flu does. The flu, anyways. So Eric Weinstein said, I think it was real. I mean, there are people that think that it wasn't real, but I think it was, because it was really,
Well, the problem with even what you're saying, Eddie, is I think that you're not saying that there wasn't the sickness. You're saying that it wasn't a novel brand. That it was a. I'm
saying it was the flu. They just hijacked the flu. They go, damn, we need a pandemic now. We're going to borrow the flu, and then boom, we're going to pretend like it's spreading everywhere. Because and then the whole thing with like it leaked from a lab, I think that's all bullshit. They want us to believe that. They'll fucking throw Fauci under the bus. They don't give a shit. They'll throw anybody under the bus. They'll take a couple scientists from the Wuhan lab and go, oh yeah, they leaked it. Or like some evil scientists leaked it, and then it spread everywhere. And they were doing gain of function research. I think that's all bullshit.
The gain of function, though, I mean, that if you trace that one, right? Because it was going on. Yeah. It was going on at UNC, and then Obama moved out of the country, and it went kind of underground, and then all that stuff's real.
This is what I think. I think Yeah, they send money for gain of function, but they just steal it. Like there's no gain of function going on. They say it is. They go, we need money for research. We need money. We need a gain of gain of function. We need research. They take the money and I think virology labs are just like NASA. They're just taking the money. They're not doing shit. They do some green screen. They're pretending. So even if it turns out like, oh, everyone believes it. Oh my God, it got leaked from a scientist. Look at all these gain of function emails to Fauci and all the money. They want, you know what that does? That makes it real. That makes it, some evil scientist leaked it and it's spreading. No fucking scientist leaked it. I don't believe that shit at all. I believe that they just hijacked the flu disappears. They just and even Eric Weinstein, even though he said on that podcast, no, I think it was real. He did say, but it didn't need to be real. They could have did this and it could have been not real. What do you need? What do you need? Just, we started in Wuhan. You take one health minister, put them on TV in Wuhan. They shut down their cities all the time. They have lockdowns all the time. They've been locked down and they had people masked up in China. They got them on lock, dog. They got them on lock. So it's like not a big deal for them. So what they do is all you do is, okay, health minister gets on TV in China and says, hey, we're going to lock down. There's a new virus. And they just do it and they lock them down. They don't give a fuck. Meanwhile, the world's watching going, damn, you see what's going on in China? You see what's going on? And then the politicians in the United States and any other country like, oh, you have nothing to worry about. That's just in Wuhan. You have nothing to worry about. And then they leak video of like people just falling on the streets in China. And everyone's like, oh my God, you see what's going on in China? People are just
use
dropping.
Old pictures of like that, those dead bodies. It was from Italy in like 2014. Remember that photo they showed?
It's perfect. They deny it because everyone's like, that's how they get everyone to believe it's real. It's like, oh, don't worry about it. They have it contained. And then all these videos are leaked of like people just falling like on sidewalks and they just put a white sheet over them and it's like, oh, fuck, you see what's going on with China? And then they say, oh, shit, a new case has been found in Seattle. Oh, Tom Hanks gets it in Australia. Oh, Prince fucking Charles gets it in the fucking UK. What? Come on. And even the tests, like, because at first it wasn't COVID. It was Corona. It was just Corona. There was no fucking COVID. So, and no one knows shit. Everyone thought Corona.
Nobody knows that Corona was a family of viruses.
They just thought it was perfect. They relied on everyone's ignorance. They go, the coronavirus is out. And then the people that did know, they go, wait a minute. Coronavirus, that's the flu. Yeah. And they go, oh, no, it's novel. It's a novel. And they go, oh, okay, it's a novel. It's a new one. Okay, it's a new one? Okay, yeah. But they just kept saying Corona. Every time anybody questioned novel, Corona, novel. So shut up, it's novel, it's new. But everyone's just like Corona. And then the tests say coronavirus. Those are old tests. The PCR test, Kerry Mullis, the guy who invented the test, was talking shit on Fauci way before Corona or way before COVID. He was talking shit on him for forever. And he was already saying, dude, my test can't tell you if you're fucking sick or you have a certain virus. He was saying that way. And they use the same fucking test. They use the same flu test that Kerry Mullis, the PCR test that Kerry Mullis invented. They're using the same thing. So when people see the test, it says coronavirus. So they go, oh shit, this is the test. No, it's the same test. It's the same PCR test Kerry Mullis had years ago. So once they get that going, then they get all the tests out and everyone's getting tested, test. Then they go, oh shit, we changed the name to COVID. Now it's COVID, but the tests are still the same. It was a total scam. Even Eric Weinstein, he said they didn't need an actual virus because he goes, people wonder if there was even a virus at all, or if they just hijacked the flu or whatever. And he said, I believe that there was, but I know deep down inside he knows that he said that there didn't need to be. You could do it really easy. You just get Fauci on TV. You get the health minister from the WHO, that fucking Tedros guy. You just get them on TV and then they say whatever and then the world changes. They close down restaurants, movie theaters like that, boom. They just announce it. Guess what? No movie theaters, no fucking clubs, no, everything's closed except
it's a test to see what they can get away with, what people will be willing to put up with. We're going to shut down your life. We're going to keep your kids at home. We're going to put you on a decision, job, like providing for your family or on the street. How many thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of small businesses got closed forever? Me, where I'm at, so many of my friends worked, their late 20s and 30s to be able to like start a new business, a small business. Their fucking livelihood got totally ruined, no savings, no nothing. the world shut down, football shut down, sports shut down, travel shut down, beaches shut down, and to
Insanity.
wait, to fucking wait for a taxpayer funded, non-tested, right, not normally tested for safety or efficacy or long-term issues vaccine by the medical czar who had a vested interest in at least one of them, who had a vested interest in the lab where it supposedly leaked from. It's insanity. And for anybody to have gone through that and to not have any skepticism about the government, about the alphabet organizations, about what actually happened, to me is absolutely unbelievable. And there still are people who are just like, nah, best thing ever. Love Fauci. Love that I got the jab. And I'm like, you people
are the problem.
Problem.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy? It's like, let's just say they did do gain and function research and they actually used the money that they sent them. I don't think they're using the money for shit. I think they're fucking buying islands with that shit. But anyways, let's say they did. And then let's say, okay, some evil scientist leaked it. After all, look at the numbers. What that guy probably got, he probably got suicided for doing such a shitty job with this gain of function new virus that you leaked out and it spread all over doctors had to lie and put COVID on every death certificate. They lied.
Hospitals were incentivized. Yeah, that's obvious.
Yeah. If it was gain of function and they really released it, how did it got weak numbers? It turns out after all the data that it killed the exact same people that the flu did. Old people. It didn't kill anybody healthy.
They don't give a shit about that though, because then they put on the mandatory vax schedule, right? They vaxxed millions and millions of Americans, right? Who knows what this is going to do to us? There was a gentleman early on. There's a video you can find. I mean, not that they totally scrubbed it, but he basically admits if we had called this what it is, experimental gene therapy, maybe 5% of people would have signed up for it. But when you tag the term vaccine to it, right, then you open up this whole other thing. So if you question a vaccine, now you're anti-science, now you're a tinfoil hat wearer, now you're a quack, and you're anti-medicine, anti-health, right? And that's what they did. That's what they did. And then they can vilify whoever they want to vilify. They could, I mean, all the shit. Remember this is shit that they said? This is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. President Weekend at Bernie's Biden went on TV and said it's going to be a winter of death for the unvaccinated. That's what he fucking said. Are you kidding me? Do you people not remember this? Do you not have a problem with this? Do you not think any of this is a little bit strange? They shut the country down, the largest transfer of wealth ever. These pharma companies made billions and billions and billions of dollars for an experimental gene therapy that changes your DNA, that you have bizarre, like extra, death numbers going on. If you follow died suddenly, and you track like healthy, young-ish, or even like healthy athletes who got jabbed, just dying.
Yeah.
And not to question any of it. Like any of this is a little bit strange. You'd probably be the same people in the 80s going, yeah, nothing wrong with AZT.
Yeah. Yeah, they spent all this money, gain of function. Some scientists leaked it, couldn't even kill one jujitsu guy, and we're fucking sweating and squeezing each other all day. What a weak fucking virus. That's the weakest. It only kills old fat people with cancer. Man, that's weak. Yeah, this is it. Get on Instagram, follow Died Suddenly Worldwide, and every day, man, they keep track of just young, healthy people having heart attacks and just dying. Just dropping like
and
a
some
sack
of this is
of
like
fucking
older
potatoes.
people. I get it, 69 here or whatever. But there's plenty of young people, and not just who've died, but who've had, episodes on the field, had to retire, had to stop playing. But just not to even question it. But then now you're vilified if you even question, like, back in the day, this is how fucking crazy and backward this shit is. There was a witch hunt to see in the NFL who's vaccinated, who's not vaccinated, what vaccine you got, shit on the people who aren't vaccinated, right? It was like the first question was like, when you got to campus, are you vaccinated? And now somebody has a heart episode or dies, unfortunately. And if you happen to be like, what if they were vaxxed? You're a fucking terrible person. You have no empathy. And it's like, no, I have all the empathy in the world. These people were vilified and scared to death to get vaccinated. And how many people actually would have wanted to? I mean, there's certain communities in this country that have a rightful, poor take on the medical industrial complex based on things that have happened to them over the years, and a general hesitancy to I don't know if I want to do this. And you saw just the full force attack, in marketing, in advertisements to vaccinate everybody possible. And I'm like, does anybody ever question I don't know, what's in this, or is this safe? Vilifying the ability to even question why I should be doing this, or what about the way you put a vaccine in, did you aspirate it? If you pull it out, and there's blood, then you hit a vein, it's supposed to just stay in one particular area. It's not supposed to go around the body. All the little crazy shit that just everybody kind of put up with because of why. Same thing issue with my team. It's it wasn't that people were against being vaccinated. It wasn't that people thought that there was some shitty things going on, but there was fear. If I speak out, what if I lose my job? I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose money. I'm going to lose sponsorships. I was basically fuck it. I'm going to say what I think, and you can take away whatever the fuck you want. But at the end of the day, you got to make a decision.
You're in a great spot because you made all your money.
I'm thankful when I could. And so, but at the same time, there's some little bit of responsibility, because not everybody could be in my situation. And a lot of people are quiet. When they sent that stooge to the team on day 3 of training camp, right? And he's up there talking about vax numbers and this and that. And I started asking questions, start firing off questions from the back. We're in this stupid room, right? We have to do these team meetings now and sit 6 feet apart in these chairs, right? Fucking embarrassing to think back on what we had to do. And I'm firing off question after question after question. So we're literally, the team president gets up and stops the meeting. Said, all right, that's enough. We're going to let this guy go, right? Because I was literally walking him into questions where he couldn't answer my stuff. After that meeting, I had people from every part of the organization. I had players from the bubble. I had starting players. I had coaches who had to get vaxxed. I had personnel people. I had the top of the top C-line people thanking me for speaking up because they were all fucking terrified of speaking their mind because of getting canceled and vilified and losing their jobs. And I just say, you know what can you do to me? What is RFK Jr. recently made a statement at the end of, I think Brett Weinstein said this on the podcast. He said, there's a lot worse things than dying. And I think what he means is letting part of you die for not standing up for what you believe in.
Yeah.
And that's what you do, right? You're like, fuck, what are you going to do to me? This is what I believe. I'd love to have a conversation. And if you can change my mind, awesome. But there are things that there's still virtuous things, right? There's still things that there's things in life that actually matter. And there's things in life that are important to hold on to. And we die a little bit every day in our culture when we don't stand up to tyranny, stand up to corruption, stand up to these things, because it's the warrior poet who can stand in the storm and say, no, I am the storm. Bring it on.
Man, it does seem for a while there, I was like, damn, not enough people are awake. The Great Reset is probably going to win. But just lately, it seems like just listening to Brett Weinstein, he was saying it, he had optimism. He goes, there's too many people awakened now. Now, we just got to just keep pumping. And I mean, the fact that JRE is the #1 podcast in the world, which is basically the #1 show in the world, is having people like Brett on, having people like you talk about it, and then Malone and McCullough and all these guys that are fighting the power. It seems like there's hope, man. It seems like there is.
I agree. I mean, there were moments and I know I'm sure you felt it too in it, where you're like, God, I'm fucking alone. Like, is anybody else
right when the
awake to
lockdown
this?
started, I thought, okay, because I've been a conspiracy theorist my whole life. Listen to Alex Jones and New World Order. They're going to take over FEMA camps, vaccines. They've been talking about. So when that happened, I'm like, oh shit, all that Alex Jones shit is happening. And they go, what are you talking about? I go, dude, they just locked down the whole fucking world. There's no sports. You can't go to the beach. You don't think that's New World Order? I was like, at that point, I was worried, man. I'm like, oh, fuck. New World Order has fucking arrived. They're taking over. They're making the move. They're making the fucking move. And, you know, it seemed like it was because Donald Trump. It seemed like Donald Trump, lit a fire under the New World Order's ass. Like, I don't know. I don't know how you feel about Donald Trump. What do you think? You think he's legit trying to fight this evil power that we've been talking about for 2 hours? Or do you think he's part of it playing good cop, bad cop?
No, I mean, I wanted to believe that things would change, but you know, I started voting when of age when George W. came in office, right? And looking back on those years and thinking about what he was presiding over, you know, 9/11, Afghanistan, Iraq, and every other thing in between. Like, after that, when Obama was running, there was an excitement that something was going to change. It wasn't the same old, and we were going to progress as a country. And not a lot happened, I don't think.
No, we found out. I believed that Obama shit too, but then we find out real quick, man, he's on the same team.
Yeah. And that's my whole problem with politics forever. And then Trump, okay, Trump's an outsider. All the right rhetoric. We're going to drain the swamp and go after the corruption. And I don't think a lot happened. And what I fault him for is Tony Fauci, because he is an establishment pharmacrat. Since he got in, and he's been in forever, and he's the highest paid government official. And and not only did Trump push the vaccine, Operation Warp Speed, or whatever the fuck it was, but he let Fauci stay in charge and shut the country down. So my thing on politics is I've always thought it's a fucking sham, because the majority of them are all juiced in, and it's run by the big banks, the big pharma, the lobbyists, the big everything, right? That doesn't give a shit deep down about the American people. All they care about is profits, power, and control, right? So my antidote to that is RFK Jr. Because I think, although he has the pedigree of family being in politics, the last real president was the first president I studied, which was JFK. And that's what got me into questioning things, because I did a sophomore project on JFK, life and death. And when I read back in the day, in 1998 or 9, when you had to go to the library and look things up, or be on a dial-up computer and try and find some information, you read the story about Lee Harvey Oswald being the sole gunman of the president and this magic bullet theory. I remember thinking to myself in this sophomore class, that's fucking bullshit. And that got me into questioning things. And now when you go back, and I've read a ton of books about JFK, about his life, he was trying to do some real shit. He was trying to decrease the power of the Fed and get us back on a metal standard. He was going after corruption. He wasn't letting the OSS, which turned into the CIA, get us into World War III with Operation Northwoods, which you can go research. Yeah. He fired Alan Dulles, right? And then if you research Alan Dulles' background and know his connections to the Bushes,
Demon,
and how he basically went from banking to espionage to, you know, bringing Operation Paperclip, which brought the scientists, the German scientists, into the States.
The Nazi scientists.
Not that, yeah, the better way to say it, which turned some of them into MK Ultra. And again, these are not conspiracy. These are all proven things. Although conspiracy is a term which gets slighted, conspiracy theorists have been right about a lot of things in the last couple of years if you go back and look at them. But my point is, I've been in this for a long time, and I believe that RFK has the potential to change things. I don't know if he can, because this country, unfortunately, is, the Dems basically vote for anybody. They don't give a shit who's there. You roll out Weekend at Bernie's, can't put a sentence together, vote for him. And there's a lot of people on the right who just say, I'm going to vote for Trump regardless of, anything that he's into, what he says. It's, crazy or not crazy, depending on how you look at it. RFK, I think, offers a different way, and he's willing to lay it on the line. His father was killed. His uncle was killed. His cousin was killed in some weird circumstances.
Yep.
And he's been willing to put himself back out there with zero Secret Service people taking care of him, which is fucking crazy. It's never happened before, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the shit he talks about is some real shit. And he spent his career suing the EPA, right? And winning and cleaning up our rivers and bodies of water across the country and holding those people accountable. And then he, gets into the vaccine stuff, which is really the only thing he gets ripped on consistently. And he's got some interesting takes on that, which I think are very, just debate them. I'm always just like, just to get him in a debate.
What do you mean? Vaccines in regards to,
it's
other
chronic disease. The chronic disease. And the fact that if you know the history of it, I was born in 83, and in 83, I believe there was 3 on the schedule, right?
Yeah.
Three mandatory vaccines.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now there's 72 cycles of vaccines, I believe. It might be more than that now, but it's 7. It might even be more with the COVID, but there's at least 70 that kids are expected to take.
Yeah.
And he says, sometimes in critique of Anthony Fauci, look at the chronic disease epidemic in this country, especially among children, and tell me that what we're doing is not having an impact on that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so,
and I think
so
he raises some good questions, whether or not you believe in that. But I'm always like, just fucking debate him. The guy is brilliant. Yeah. And my point with politics is Trump got 4 years. I don't know how much the swamp got drained. It seemed like there are certain members of the establishment who stayed in power or got to power. Biden, I mean, he's a puppet. I don't know who's actually running the country, whether it's, somebody else, but he can barely put a sentence together. So now you have RFK, a third-party candidate. It's time for us to break this monopoly of 2 candidates, which most of the time is just establishment, shills. Although it seems like Trump is an outsider. That's why
they're going after him.
That's what's crazy.
They're going after him.
People want to.
That means something to me.
100%. If you want to rip on Russia or these, countries that go after their political opponents and like to highlight this stuff, what is going on with that?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, do you think, you agree that over the last year or two, we've gotten to a point where enough people have awakened that maybe there's hope, right?
Yeah.
Over the last year or two, right?
Yes.
And what is it about the last year or two that all these people have awakened? Is it the dumb shit that the Biden administration is doing?
I think it's so overt now. You can't.
It's the dumb shit after the dumb shit, just continual dumb shit that the Biden administration does, right?
And then he goes up on a press conference the same night, coincidentally enough, that Tucker's doing his Putin interview that got 200 million viewers. He goes up there and can't put a sentence together and confuses Mexico and Egypt, and it's like, how can you think that this is good for the free world, which that's a loose term now, but at one point America was the leader of the free world, and this guy is leading us. You can't possibly think that this is good.
Yeah.
And that's where the blue, no matter who, is just, why are we there? And that's why there's got to be a third option. And RFK is a very good third option, right? Yeah. In Iceland, there's 9 parties, right? I know it's Iceland, but there's a pirate party. There's a pirate party in Iceland.
Are they freer than us? Do they have more rights?
Well,
than us?
There's not many countries that have a Bill of Rights like we do. That's one of the issues with England, right? Is they don't have specific things outlined, like the First Amendment, which takes under a lot of attack. Super important for a number of different reasons, not just freedom of speech, but religion and assembly, and the Second Amendment. It was put there for a reason, right? So you couldn't have a tyrannical government come and take your arms.
Yeah.
Right. The Fourth Amendment, very important amendment as well. The 5th and 6th, very important. I mean, they're
Which
all
one's
really
the fourth?
important.
I know the first and second. What's the fourth?
4th is quartering of troops, which has
What does that mean?
Well, it was put in there so that they couldn't allow the British to the British would come in your house and say, we're taking over your house. And there's nothing you can say about that. And it's gotten broadened. That was some of the things that Snowden was fighting against, right? Fall under the 4th Amendment, where the overreach of the government to infiltrate your home, your privacy, your computers, listening to, your phone 24/7, and the FISA court, which have you done any research on that? It's pretty crazy. The power that they have. Not to mention what Ed Snowden was talking about, which was how many years ago now? Are we talking about a decade ago? The capabilities that they had to tap into your conversations, to spy on Americans, to target people. We saw during COVID. I mean, who was getting targeted? You had concerned parents being treated as terrorists, domestic terrorists.
Yeah.
They're going after churches for wanting to meet in person. It's crazy stuff. But a free country needs to have free elections. Here's my thing. I want to say one other point, because I've said this before, but why in the world can you not have an election day that's a national holiday? There's no excuses about going to vote, right? It's a national holiday. There's no work. That's the day you go vote. They're all tallied on the same day. You show some form of ID to vote. I don't think that's racist. I don't think that's preferential. Everybody knows. All right, November 4th is going to be election day. You have to have some form of ID for that. It's a day off. If you want to vote, you vote. It all gets tied on the same day. What happened? I mean, how many days after have we seen over the years, whether it's Bush Gore in Florida or a bunch of the swing states this last election, where they couldn't get the votes counted until, a day after, 2 days after, a week after? They're still going through this stuff. That's crazy. It should make people go, something's going on here. They stop the call. They call the race, the counting at 3 a.m, and you wake up the next day and it's totally flipped.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why they're doing that, right? They don't want Trump in. Now, do you think like all the dumb shit the Biden administration has done, pulling out of Afghanistan, fucking all the money going to Ukraine, Biden constantly, fumbling and mumbling his words, and all that shit, everything, all the crazy shit, the border, allowing kids to chop their dicks off without parental consent, and all that shit, little by little over the last 3-4 years has awakened people, right?
At that, and I would also say this, Eddie, who are the voices of our days now? It used to be people watched the nightly news, right? And so they had their Dan Rathers, and their anchor who would tell them the stories of the day. You've seen what's happened on a lot of these networks, whether it's Fox or CNN. Nobody's watching. Who are people listening to and watching? They're watching long form podcasts, right? And who's number one in the world? Joe. And who does Joe get on there? Really interesting, smart people for the most part. He gets fighters, which people love if you're a fight fan, but a lot of them are, you get super interesting people. And a lot of them are doing some questioning of the mainstream narratives. Yeah. Tucker Carlson, the worst thing that could happen to the establishment was the firing of Tucker. They thought the opposite. They thought, let's get Tucker off the air, right? Yeah. Now he can't be stomping for Trump.
Barbara Streisand, what do they call that? The Streisand effect? Is that what they call that?
I haven't heard that. No.
I think I'm pretty sure. Hibbler, can you punch up what the Streisand effect is? I think it's when you're trying to accomplish something by saying something or banning someone or censoring something, and it backfires and the opposite happens. It's called the.
Well, that's what happened because how are people getting the news now? They're listening to podcasts, and Joe is number one. They're watching X. And Elon has created a platform that has way more free speech. Now, there's still some issues with it for sure. But if you just look at the fucking Twitter files and the collusion that was going on between the alphabet companies and censoring of legitimate experts in fields who were just stating their professional opinions, it's fucking crazy.
Can you blow that up? Okay, boom, there we go. The Streisand effect is a phenomenon that occurs when an attempt to hide, remove, or censor information has the unintended consequence of increasing awareness of that information, often via the internet. It is named after American singer and actress Barbra Streisand, who attempted to suppress the California Coastal Records Project's photograph of her residence in Malibu, California, taken to document California coastal erosion. Inadvertently, drew greater attention to the photograph in 2003. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. You know, by trying to censor Tucker, it just blew his ass up even more. Same thing with like Russell Brand. They try to attack him. He's bigger than ever now too. Now back to there's a point to why I'm saying that over the last 2-3 years, there's been
people waking up. Yeah.
Now, if they wouldn't have stole the election, and Trump would have had a second term, do you think those same people that are awakened would have been awakened?
I think no, I don't.
No way. So that's my point. No way. So the only way to legitimately crush the cabal and drain the swamp and kill the deep state, the only way really is to have the people behind you. You can't do it without the people. So the people have to be awakened first. And then with the people, boom, that's the only way you're going to be able to change shit. That's the only way. If there was a plan, like how do you get in a room and you get a bunch of people together trying to figure out a plan, how are we going to take the deep state out? Now, the deep state had decades of infiltration. And, you know, if you listen to Yuri Bezmenov, he talked about ideological subversion and how it takes, how it takes 16 years, and that makes sense. So if it takes 16 years to indoctrinate a country, nation, and flip it and turn it, you know, socialist, Marxist, communist, or whatever the plan is, it doesn't take 1 year. It doesn't take 2 years. It doesn't take 4 years. It doesn't take 8 years. They know, they figured it out. It takes 16 motherfucking years. That's what it takes. So if it takes 16 years to infiltrate and destroy a society, then it's got to take, you know, a similar amount of years, 8 years, 10 years, 12 years to reverse that shit, to deprogram, right? You can't just, we're just going to make one 6-hour documentary that explains everything. We're going to release it on the internet, boom, and then everyone's awake. That would be the dumbest fucking plan ever. Yeah, we'll just put all the evidence on a 6-hour DVD, 8-hour DVD. Yeah. We'll make part 1, part 2, and part 3, and then that's it. That's it. That's not how you do it. You gotta shatter the mold that's been cast. You know, they've been indoctrinated. So the only way we're going to save this country is to awaken the people. And the only way to awaken the people is not by telling them, not by explaining anything to them. They're fucking zombie brain dead. You know what I mean? You have to show them. You have to walk through the fire. You have to feel the fire. And that's what we've been feeling the last 4 years. We needed Biden to steal the election. That had to be part of the plan. So to me, this is my hope is that there's a plan. And when there's a plan, it's just like you have a plan. You're going undercover. Like I think Trump, the plan was go in. They're going to landslide. They're going to, because they would, you know, rig the elections before, but just with the machines. They would just flip votes, you know, as long as it was close, they could flip them, you know, but if there's a landslide, you can't flip a landslide. So that's what they say, you know. So when Trump won by a landslide, when he beat Hillary, that's when they realized, fuck, the machines ain't enough. We need to go deep. We need to get, okay, let's throw Russia at them. Let's throw rape at them. Let's throw racism at them. If that shit don't work, we gotta do a fucking scamdemic and to get these fucking mail ballots out. We gotta mail out all these ballots, ballot harvesting, 2,000 mules. You gotta do all that shit. So the plan may have been, I don't know. I hope this is the plan. The plan is Trump wins, unplugs all their shit. He knows they're going to cheat. He sees the scamdemic. He knows what the scamdemic's about. He's being pro-vaccine just to go along with it. Boom. It's like undercover. You have to do some drugs when you go undercover, right? I don't know. Maybe this is just me hoping that he pushed all that shit. lets Biden cheat, knew Biden was going to cheat. And then he says everything, like 3 weeks before that January 6th, he was at the border saying, hey, listen, when there was no border problem at all with Trump, no one even talked about the border, the secure border. That shit was, he had remain in Mexico policy. People were afraid to try to cross the border when Trump was president. But he said, he goes, listen, it's like December 2019. He's all, listen, if Biden gets in, if they get away with this robbery, you're going to see millions of people come through the border. It's going to be like something you never see. Now, people won't believe that. Like the left won't believe him saying that. So it had to happen. This had to happen. So now Trump's coming back and Trump's fucking crushing in the polls. Now, like, dude, the black community is all about Trump. Now, that's what needed to happen. He needed the people to see it. And the only way the people can see it is we walk through the fire. Biden had to win. He had to win. I used to think like, man, if Biden wins, we're fucked. It's over. Oh my God, it's over if Biden wins. And then Biden cheated and he won. And I'm like, oh shit, we're fucking done, son. It's fucking over. I was worried. And then now looking back, I'm like, man, this is perfect. Everything was perfect. We needed this fucking scamdemic. We needed Biden to rig the election. We needed all this shit. We needed this so that we can awaken. It's the only way you're going to awaken the zombies. It's the only way. You have to walk through. They have to feel the pain. They have to see it over and not just once, just over and over again, not just once. It's like trying to kill ringworm. You don't just put Lamisil on your ringworm once or twice. You got to put it on 3 times a day for 7 days. You have to keep hammering that ringworm, and then in 7 days, it's gone. Same thing with awakening. You can't just show someone one documentary and they're awakened. You got to hammer them over and over and over. And I think that's what's happening. I think people are fine. People like liberals all over the place are questioning the border now. I'm like, oh shit, they're finally seeing it. They're going, dude, what's happening with the border, bro? I'm like, oh, now you're asking questions. Now I feel a great awakening is happening now. obviously I hope I'm not wrong, but I feel it, man. I really do. And Brett Weinstein was talking about it too. He feels that just too many people are awakened and they underestimated the power of the people. And I think the only way to really drain the swamp is you have to awaken the people first. You can't drain the swamp. People, if Trump would have won that second, dude, there would have been civil war. Everyone would have thought he was people think he's he's Hitler, he's a fascist. Still a lot of people still think that. So if he would have won, shit, he would have went down in history as fucking Joseph Stalin. You know what I mean? So I think looking back now, if I got in a time machine and I went back 8 years and I said, what do you think? How are we going to take down the deep state? I would do the exact same thing that's going on right now. Fake scamdemic, all that, because the scamdemic woke up a lot of people. There was the scamdemic didn't wake up anti-vaxxers. Anti-vaxxers saw this coming fucking 1,000 miles away. There's a lot of documentaries on all the bullshit on the COVID vax, right? There's a bunch, but there's documentaries and different stories on each vaccine, the measles vaccine and all. Dude, there's mad documentaries on the real shit about that measles, mumps vaccine. And then the polio vaccine, that's a movie in itself. And it's all the same thing. They're all mini COVIDs. COVID was the big one. But each vaccine, like that Gardasil vaccine, the one that's supposed to like keep girls from getting like genital warts or something, that's fucking girls up. There's so much footage and so many people that have been fucked up from all vaccines. It's not just the COVID vaccine. It's all vaccines. Like, to me, vaccines are designed to kill, to weaken. They want to keep you weak. They want to keep jabbing you. They want to keep you fucking weak. And they want to keep you addicted to pharmaceuticals. For me, that's the real reason for vaccines. That shit don't work. That's just all just fucking tyrannical. It's just a way to control the slaves, keep them weak, keep them sick. A lot of people are going to die. The overpopulation. They're talking about overpopulation and they're fucking pushing jabs. Overpopulation. There's too many people in the world. Let's get everybody vaxxed. They're like, dude, we're living in a prison. I think we're in a prison lake. I think we're in a lake and there's a bunch of lakes They got everybody thinking we're on a fucking ball, we're in a fucking lake, and each country's like a prison. And the United States is the best minimum security prison. That's what I believe. We're all just, all the countries are just prisons, and they're all like, all the rulers are like, you know, experimenting on different ways to control the slaves, you know what I mean? And the best way is to make them think they're not even slaves, make them think that they're free, make them think that they're in every country. They got their own wars that they fought for independence, and every country thinks they're the best country. And it's crazy shit, man.
That was a good rant. Let me just. There's one thing I want to say about all that, and that's when you're talking about people waking up. I think one thing that this whole thing did, right? Whether you're on the right side or left side, whether you've been pro-vax or anti-vax, whether you're, you know, never question science, always question science, whatever your views may have been, I think at the bare minimum, the mistake that whoever's pulling the strings made is you showed more people who the enemy was. I think now people are like, you know what? Can't trust pharma all the time. You know what? Can't trust my government implicitly. You know what? The WEF is full of shit.
Yeah,
they're telling us
exposed. Fauci's
about
exposed.
Agenda 2030. You're not going to own anything. You're going to like it.
Yeah,
it's going to be, you know, a great reset. Oh, I can't necessarily trust my Fox News all the time or my CNN. Like, I think it exposed a lot of people for actually not being America first and not giving a shit about the people. And I think that was the biggest mistake they didn't count on. And I don't know if Trump is the answer. Like I said, I think most people look at the election, especially with, you know, Weekend at Bernie's being rolled out there, as a lesser of two evils. And I don't know that that's how you unite a country. And I don't, you know, I think in order to actually move things forward, you have to find a candidate who can actually bring from the right and the left. Are we too far gone from that, where you can't have a landslide like we had with whether Ronald Reagan or a new type of politician with a JFK? I don't know. Maybe it's a few elections away and more people got to wake up. I will say, though, that if anything, the last few years have shown us who the real enemies of humanity are. And I think people that have woken up can start to at least agree on that. Like, there's a lot of people that really don't give a shit about us. They care about power and control and profits. And those people are not our friends.
Yeah. And Fauci, like, one of the knocks on Trump that you said was like, why didn't he fire Fauci? Think about this. There's an old saying, never interrupt your enemy when they're in the middle of destroying themselves. So if Trump would have fired Fauci right away, they would have just, there's 10 demons waiting in line to take his job. It would be just another Fauci part 2, a new one. Just like when Andrew Cuomo had to resign from all his shit, they just put in like a worse governor. You know what I mean? So if it's better to keep Fauci and dude, if he would have fired Fauci, would RFK even have written that book about it? No one would even care about that book because no one would even know who Fauci was. That book would be obscure. Like, who is this guy?
I think there's a lot of people, especially in the AIDS community and people who know about AIDS.
But it's almost like super indie underground. No one's really talking about that shit no more.
I mean, I agree there in some part, but at the same time, aren't you like being a little bit of a Trump apologist that everything was meant to happen exactly the way it happened? Or like, I understand that some of this stuff.
I got hope.
Yeah, well, I'm not trying to dim your hope at all.
They're going after him so hard, dude.
That's
gotta
crazy.
There's got to be a reason for that, dude.
Kevin O'Leary just went on CNN. And you know Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful. He actually competed against me in my Celebrity Jeopardy in 2015. But he basically said, "Why would any real estate developer want to go to New York after that happened?"
Yes, I saw that.
Because he said this is a common practice all over the world every single day.
Yeah.
You say what a building's worth. Bank has their assessors who make an assessment. And then this is what they value it at. And this is what they loan you at. There wasn't anybody who
the banks were happy. Everybody was happy.
Right? There was no victims. There was no victims. That's crazy. And I don't know how you.
And Donald Trump said Trump said that they asked, they go, hey, you need any money? We'll loan you some money. You know, banks say, hey, we got a special fucking interest rate. You want to, because, you know, banks ask people if they want money. That's what he said. That's what he's claiming. He could be lying. But all the demons are going after him. They're all coming out of the shadows, and talking mad shit. Like if he wins, that tells me something, man. That tells me that they're scared to death of that motherfucker. And if the demons are all collectively scared to death of Trump, there's something about that. There's something about that, man. This could all be a big plan to usher in the Great Awakening, man. And there's no way it could happen.
But why didn't? I get it, but you know, this is an apology for the 4 years that he was in office that he didn't go after the corruption in the FBI, in the NSA, in the CIA,
because they were after him the whole
CDC.
time. From this whole presidency, they were investigating him. They were going after him the whole time. The whole time they gave him.
And what's going to change? Is that not going to change this time around?
I think it's going to be this time around. It's going to be a little different.
That's my thing. Like, listen, I'm supporting RFK because I just think that he is somebody who can.
I like RFK too. I like if he wins. If he wins, I'll be happy too.
What's going on to Trump is not diminishing his popularity. It's actually doing the opposite.
Yeah.
People are on to the tactics, and it's a little bit crazy right now. And I feel like I don't understand anybody could look at that and go, 354 million with no victim.
Yeah.
That's a little strange, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then all these other things that are going on down in Georgia and stuff. It's some crazy stuff.
And he every day, every single day, he's not letting that rigged election shit go. And what's happening is state by state, they're adding voter ID, which is a no fucking brainer. You got to have what you said was perfect.
Make it a day.
One day. Everybody shows their fucking ID, nice and no brainer.
But let's take that a few steps farther. The politics, the money is ridiculous. Like. The whole setup is ridiculous, right? The campaign finance needs reform, right? The fact that Bobby is having a hard time getting on every state ballot, that there's 50 different states, there's 50 different codes and rules. Some states you got to have a certain type of pen color for every signature to get in. Certain states have other things. There's secretaries of those states that can interfere with, or governors who can interfere with the whole process and delay the process. It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, what are we doing? We're becoming the laughing stock of the world. What did the Argentina guy, I just read something that he just balanced the budget in the first month down there. The guy just got elected.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like,
How about the homeless problem in San Francisco? How they fixed it in 2 days.
That's why people say, they're going to roll out, there's a lot of people talking about, that they've actually been letting Biden embarrass himself so they can, and this whole case that came out where it said his memory's gone, that he can't testify, right? Like, that just got released as well. And then who was it? The Post or somebody, Times, wrote an article about how his age is his superpower. I mean, it's a joke to think that Biden is going to run, I think. Yeah. So if they roll out Gavin Newsom, I hope every Californian on both sides, and it's been pretty blue for a long time in the state, everybody goes, what he's done in this state, state income tax, the big cities have just gone to shit.
You still live in California? You still live in California?
In the off season, yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know how much longer I'm going to want to do it, because it's terrible.
You thinking about Austin?
Texas is a lot more free. Anywhere that's more free.
Yeah, it's just so hot, man. Fuck.
Yeah.
I wish it wasn't so. 6 months of oven temperatures is just, it's tough. I like
being outdoors and I enjoy
Southern California, the best weather ever.
No, I mean, I like Texas. I'm saying, I enjoy Texas. I don't mind the heat, but I just grew up in California. I love this state. And what Gavin Newsom has done to it, is embarrassing. And
how many kids?
And more than that, I have no kids. I'm not married. I have no kids.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. But let's look at what Gavin. Just a couple of fun things about his record. Like when COVID happened, and he locked down the state and locked down in-person schooling and still sent his kids to in-person private school, or when he shut down many of my friends' businesses all over the state and didn't shut down his winery, or when he shut down, my friends, restaurants and, eateries, indoor dining, and he was caught, eating at the French Laundry inside, just like rules for thee, but not for me. He's the prime example of that. His aunt is also incredible stock trader. But listen, that would be a terrible choice. Obviously Biden, I don't, he can barely put a sentence together. But it'll be interesting. It's going to be a really interesting few months, 7 months. But hopefully, we can not have any, disease X released on us. Hopefully, we can figure out a way to make, voting easy and straightforward, and count every vote and on the same day. And voter ID shouldn't be a problem. I mean,
that's a no-brainer. Voter ID. I mean, that's all shit that Trump's talking about. I mean, the only way we're going to fix this country is if we first fix the voting process. Once we master the voting process, make it, cheat-proof, rig-proof. Once we do that, then there's still a lot of propaganda that we have to sift through and try to wipe out and try to keep everything as honest as possible. But it all starts with a solid, fair election process that's voter ID. You can't be an illegal immigrant and vote. Come on, man. Simple shit.
You got to be alive and vote.
Yeah, exactly. And little by little, states are like making changes, so there is hope.
I mean, there is
hope.
Come on. Like, there should be things that aren't partisan, right? That are just like common sense.
Yeah.
There should be
secure border. A secure
border should be common sense.
It is common sense, because there's plenty of the Democrats have always said, yeah, we got to secure the border. Secure borders are so important to a free democracy. All that shit. All of them said that, but they never meant it, because they say it. Do you know that they funded a wall like in the 2000s already? There's a documentary called The Fence.
But when Trump got behind it, they had to be on the other side. Is that what you mean?
No. What I'm saying is, it's always been a no-brainer, a common sense issue. Secure border. There's Obama, Hillary, Bill Clinton. All of them are saying it. Republicans, Democrats. But what they say they're going to secure the border. They get the money for it, but they never do it. They just steal the money. You see what I'm saying? There's a documentary called The Fence about it. In like 2005, 2006 or 7, in the mid 2000s, they already approved a wall and the funding. They just never finished it. They just stole the money. That's what I think is happening with these virology labs and like NASA. They get money, and then where does the money go? Like all the aid that's going to Ukraine. You think that's going, like, they're stealing that money? You know what I mean?
I think people are having a little bit more problem with that, though. Now that it's not blasted on every, and you got people stomping for it on the, news and social media all the time. I think people are like, how much more do we just give them? Like,
exactly.
People that can't buy groceries and
another 100 million, another 200 billion.
How about we get this in our own communities here?
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the problem. They've shown their hand a little bit too far. They've gone a little too far.
Yeah. And that's what Trump, when he says, yeah, we need a secure border, they're like, oh shit, he's actually really going to do it. Fuck, we need to make that racist. Let's make it racist. All of a sudden it's racist. You guys, you've been saying this shit this whole time. And now it's a racist thing to say we need a secure border. So
how about what's going on in Texas, where they were what the federal government was cutting down the fence as the local National Guard was putting it up?
Dude, that's another thing. Just crazy dumb shit after dumb shit after dumb shit that's slowly awakening people.
It's awakening people.
Like
all the Soros DAs that there was a huge defund the police movement.
Yep.
After the the deaths a couple summers ago, and then. Now look at California. You get let out the same day for a crime of less than $1,000, I believe, and there's crazy things happening. Cops got beat up in New York and then let out, and the guy's flipping off the camera. Like, I think people are starting to be like, this is not a fucking good idea. Like, there needs to be some law and order going on. And again, I think they went a little far, a little power hungry, a little control hungry after they saw what they could do with COVID. But people are fed up with it. They're sick of it on both sides, I hope. But again, Trump is very polarizing, and the left is a blue no matter who. That's why I'm like, is there a better option?
Yeah.
Who still wants to go after the alphabet organizations and wants to go after corruption and spend his life doing it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I like RFK, man. I like RFK. Shifting gears now. Before I let you go, we've almost done 3 hours. I know you gotta take off, but on JRE, you wanted to get into Tartaria, and Joe. That's one thing that Joe hasn't looked into really too much. So if he really didn't know what you were talking about as far as those Hibbler. Do you have a? Can you
mercury in brass balls on the top of buildings?
Okay, so you know. So you know. Crazy shit. So
I said copper, but it was brass. I mean, it's brass because brass and mercury creates a charge. So
yes. So
but you said something really early on that in a
podcast.
The history. No, in this podcast.
Oh.
Our history is full of bullshit, right?
Yeah.
We've been lied to about a lot of things.
Totally. Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of something that always kind of is a North Star for me. Like, just a question, like, is this really true or is this not true?
Yeah.
But
there's a YouTube channel. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's called My Lunch Break.
No.
You can subscribe to that, dude. That is the best Tartarian. Oh man, that's the best channel. My Lunch Break and John Levi. I'll text it to you, but dude, you're gonna get hooked. You're just gonna go through all of them, dude. You're just gonna go, oh shit, this guy's awesome. But Hibbler, if someone asked you, what is this whole Tartaria thing about? Hibbler, my engineer, my producer, he's making a documentary called Old World Order. He made that Fluvid documentary, the Fluvid-19 documentary. He's made the Next Level, a Flat Earth documentary, all that stuff. So Hibbler, explain to someone, if someone asks you, what is the Tartarian conspiracy about?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think first of all, hi Aaron, how you doing? To me, it's in a basic 101 sense, it seems as if our Rockefeller history books are literally nothing but fabrications. Every story of our past, of what we're told, where we came from, who we are, it's BS. And again, they're pushing the coming from monkeys, and they have to, so they have to create these things, because if they don't teach giants, they won't teach giants in the schools for a reason. But I look at the overall old world theory as a sort of advanced civilization that was just here. They were just here, and I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. It seemed there's a lot of old photos are popping up all over the place now of completely empty cities, built out cities, empty, buried in mud. It looks like they're digging some buildings up here. They're faking construction photos. I'm on that. You know me, man. I'm just going after the deception. Where are they tricking us? Oh my God, they're faking construction photos of these old world buildings. Why would they do that? Well, because it was already there. And if we knew that as children, we knew we came from orphans, and we knew about these Cabbage Patch Kids, and a lot of the, our completely the complete histories, the opposite. It seems like. So it's a big one, man. But there's a lot of, that's why I'm putting together a film, because there's nothing like, we can recommend channels all day. My Lunch Break's one of the greatest, of course, but it's got to be a basic film. And this is basic. It's going to be basic because it's important to get the knowledge, to get the information to your neighbor in a basic format, so now they can understand what the heck is going on. So hopefully that answered it. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's the cover-up of giants, the cover-up of our true history, the cover-up of our ancestors that were bigger. They were bigger, smarter. They did a lot of good shit, man. And it's basically stolen technology that's being sold back to us little by little, given to us, like the puppets we are. Just, oh, thank you for this thing, and oh, look at this new piece of technology. Mm-hmm. And it's all right. They found it. They reverse engineer it. They sell it back to us. But I'll let you guys go.
It's kind of like, the mainstream story of the discovery of America is Columbus, and with his 3 ships discovered North America, and it was just a bunch of Indians. But the Tartaria side is the cities that are here now were already here, and maybe they were abandoned. Something hit them, some kind of electromagnetic cataclysm that, because they had free energy, they were taking electricity just right out of the air with those spires and just making producing energy, and something happens, maybe some electromagnetic cataclysm, and fried everything like a fried circuit board. And there's also there's evidence, there's all these mountains in Europe, in the Middle East, where they look like mountains, but then there's like a building inside of it. And you're like, did they build a building inside of a mountain, or was the whole mountain a building of stone that got melted somehow? And then there's evidence of a big mud flood also. So the alternative history is we didn't discover shit. It was already here and we repopulated it. And the evidence is virtually in every city, there's these amazing structures. They're not like the pyramids or like Göbekli Tepe or whatever, because they want you on the pyramids, because then you're arguing about whether they're 10,000 years old or 20,000. Oh, dude, they're 40,000 years old. Look at the watermarks. They want everyone arguing about the pyramids and how, oh, dude, they're 20,000 years old. They're not 10,000. Instead of going, dude, what about these cathedrals and these palaces that were built in the 1800s when there was no power tools and it was just like horse and buggy era? Like, how is that possible? Cowboys built this shit in Utah? So...
And the World Fair part of it too is interesting.
Oh yeah, man. It's like it just like you start noticing. Do you, Aaron, when you go to cities, are you noticing buildings everywhere you go? Like when you go through the city, you're like, oh, there's one right there. They're all over the place.
Belong, yeah. Some of the stuff
like they built that in the 1800s. Come on, dog.
Yeah.
No fucking way.
No people that day. Just saying. never too many people walking around.
That is interesting. Or they usually have like a horse and buggy, like on the street somewhere. They usually do that. But
it's
I mean,
very, very interesting stuff. I think that's the the best part of kind of going through life with just a curiosity and a skepticism almost about certain things. Is that
look at this shit.
Look at this. It's crazy.
It looks like there was some kind of meltdown of buildings, and then over time they turn into mountains.
I'm going to tell both you guys right now, Yandex, remember that, Yandex. Download the app. Don't go to Google to image search anymore. They control the algorithm just like YouTube. Go to Yandex. I believe it's Russia's Google or something along those lines, but either way, I'm telling you guys right now, when you want to search for images and find related, there's nothing that'll ever be better at the moment. So just letting both you guys know that.
Yandex.
Yeah, Yandex. Okay. I remember that. So what if someone asked you, Aaron, what Tartaria is about? Like, oh, you're into Tartaria. What the hell is that? How would you explain it?
Well, I think it starts with a curiosity about our history and what is actually true that we've been told, and what is a lie. And people are like, why does that fucking matter? It's because if they can lie about that, what else can they lie about? And what are we actually doing, on this planet? Where do we come from? And why don't we care about, things that actually should matter? And why are we so distracted? And why are they trying these different things for power and control? It goes back to what is real in this world, and what can we actually go, you know what, I really believe in this. Because Tartaria is interesting to me because I just don't have a natural skepticism paired with a true curiosity about history. I studied history in college. When I was 9 years old, I studied Egypt. And that's why I'm so fascinated by Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson and their theories about Egypt. And I love their podcast with Joe. And why does that history matter? Because there's been probably thousands and thousands and thousands and tens and hundreds of thousands, maybe, years of extremely advanced civilizations. Why does that change things? Because everything that they've told us could be a lie, and a lot of the stuff, and he mentioned Rockefeller, you look into the history of some of those families and what they've done to this country, and just look at it from a medicine standpoint. Like if you know the history of medicine in this country, there's a great book called Dissolving Illusions, which touches on some of this stuff. But if you look at Rockefeller's influence on history and education, very fascinating. Many buildings and structures and islands around the world and country have been named after a lot of these ruling families in a more of a positive light. But there's been some interesting things that they brought to this country that maybe aren't in our best interest. And I just like to question things. I think it's interesting when you go to a big city, whether, we play in a lot of big cities and you look at some of the architecture, you're like, man, that's fucking crazy. But it doesn't match some of the other stuff from the same time period. It's very strange, like, what is this all about? And then you look at, just looking at the world, it orients you, it gives you like a curiosity to question what they've been told. You look at various structures around the world, and there's some things I look at and I'm like, did we have Avatar style home trees here? You look at some of these, mountains that are flattened off that look like petrified bases of trees. You're like, that's interesting. I wonder, that's kind of cool and crazy. What if there were? And your mind, this is the imagination. I think we get our imagination pounded out of us as a kid to not dream about being something, or dream about what the world could be like in a different way, and dream about what the world could be like if Tesla had been able to be the lead, inventor and not Thomas Edison, back then, and his cronies. Like, what would the world look like with free energy and time travel that he was working on, all the other crazy invention that Nikola Tesla was bringing to this planet? And what would it look like if we knew the real history of what happened to the Library of Alexandria and what was written there? What's in the Library of the Vatican? What secrets are they hiding there that could move this forward? And then that's how they've screwed up the powers that be. I don't want to tell them all their mistakes, but they've woken up people to just question things a little bit more. Like, I don't know if you're telling me the truth anymore, because it doesn't seem like you're an ally anymore. And who are the allies? The people that are kind of questioning things and care about freedom and connection and loving each other, and not this power and control and bullshit and everything. And, these causes that have become cults. That's not going to advance the world forward. So I'm fascinated in Tartarian Empire, just like I'm fascinated in what happened to the Greeks and the Egyptians and America, and what's going on in Antarctica and what happened there. And, there's a lot of really interesting things that pique my interest. But the buildings, especially, because I notice it every time I go into big cities. The architecture is very fascinating, and from a just pure aesthetic standpoint, they're gorgeous. They're beautiful buildings.
Yeah.
But then you look at some old photos, and you're like, "What are those things on the top?" That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, like, a lot of those old world buildings have clocks on top of them.
Yeah.
And a clock, like, what's powering that clock? You know what I mean? So maybe, like, are there like slaves in the basement, like powering the clock all day, and they just rotate them in? You know what I mean? Like, what is powering these clocks? When people ask, we'll close on this, I'll let you go now. But when people ask, like, why do you care? Why does it matter? And, man, if the truth doesn't matter to you, what does that say about you? The truth don't matter? Like, it doesn't matter to you if the truth don't matter? Like, truth matters to me. I'm fascinated with the truth. I'm trying to figure out the truth. I don't always figure it out. Sometimes I figure out some falsehoods, but I'm trying my best. And, I'm trying to do the right thing as much as possible. I'm not perfect, but I'm doing my best, and I appreciate you, Aaron, for standing up. And I wish there was 50 more guys in the NFL like you. That would be awesome. Any final words, Aaron?
Well, I'd say, first of all, there are, but they've just been silenced by fear.
But eventually they'll come out, huh?
Eventually they're going to come out. Eventually it's going to come out.
It'll be easier and easier. Once it starts snowballing, and then they go, oh, it's safe now. Everyone else is talking, right? It'll snowball.
It's going to. I think people are waking up. They're tired of being treated the way they've been treated. They're tired of struggling. They're tired of seeing their money go overseas or go to pharmaceutical companies that don't give a shit about health. They're waking up. And there was a time where I did not have a lot of hope. But I think a lot of that's changed. I really believe in the heart and soul of people. And I believe there's a field of value. And I believe that you should hold on to your beliefs loosely enough, loosely enough for them to be changed by a good conversation. And that the best way for us to move forward as a society is to have those conversations, to test each other's ideas and theories and find commonalities and connections and ways we can grow together, not apart. And the more we divide ourselves up into these cause cults and pick, insert fill in the blank, climate change on down of things that divide us, the more that the powers that be can keep us down and keep us from realizing our power, because we have all the power. It's like that great, I say great delicately, but there's a animated movie called Ants, I believe, right? And the grasshoppers, they have to convince the ants that they have no power. And again, I'm paraphrasing this, and I might be off on the specific insect type, but basically, the powers that be have to convince us that we don't have the power, that we aren't strong, that we aren't coordinated, that we aren't connected, that love and goodness and kindness don't actually exist in this world. And I think the more that guys like yourself and me and Joe and all the other warriors who are out there fighting for truth and being curious about their world and asking questions and trying to connect with people, and the RFKs of the world who legitimately would lay down their life to make this world a better place. And I know a lot of Trump supporters feel like he would do the same thing, but it's people like that who are going to change the world, people who are willing to stand up for the goodness that's left in this world, because there's good in all of us. But if we allow our fear to rule our lives and to rule our decision making, we got no chance. But once we realize we have the power, and the power is in the truth, and the power is in the questioning, and the power is in the curiosity and the imagination, we can do some amazing things and take this country back. And I know every few years they say, "Oh, this is the most important election of our lives," or what they've done with all the disasters that are going to happen from climate change on down every 5 years. Like, oh, this is going to end the world. This is going to end the world. I do think we're coming to a point where we really have to get this thing moving in the right direction, or else life as we know it is going to change, and not for the better. So it takes more people like yourself having great conversations with people. This is the way people get their information. They're having long discussions. They're not watching the news. And the more that we have strong men and women who stand up for what's true and right in this world, and ask questions and talk to people and learn things and grow, the better chance that our society has of getting to a better spot. So thank you, buddy. It's great to finally be connected with you. I've always felt like we'd have some fun conversations. So hopefully you'll have me back on at some point.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Are you kidding? Part 2, part 3. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate you for taking your time. I know you're super busy, man, but we'll talk soon, and have a great night.
Thanks, buddy. You too.
Thank you, dude.
The Jiu-Jitsu Dojo is the ultimate training ground for life. Jiu-Jitsu will accelerate the evolution of your being, your consciousness, your soul. Through this amazing art, you will prove to yourself that you can master anything you set your mind to.
Happy birthday, Eddie Bravo.
I leave for Brazil tomorrow.
Are you the Fear Factor guy?
I'm like 6 pounds over. Time to sweat it out. Just imagine someone that has no idea how different your game is.
I'll tell you what this weekend was, man. It was a culmination point where all your hard work comes to like one great moment in time. You showed that you're a fucking champion, guy who goes against convention. You created your own shit and figured interesting ways to get around problems in jiu-jitsu. And shows you that great things are possible if you work hard, if you dedicate yourself, and you use your creativity, and you push through. Your own human potential just goes up.
My 10th Planet Association has grown rapidly to over 70 academies worldwide, and their curriculums are all synced to 10th Planet headquarters located in downtown Los Angeles. I'm Eddie Bravo. I hope to see you on the mats.
You can tell it's real because it looks so fake.